Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. It's Politi-tics on a Saturday night, and I'm your host, Jake Johnson. And tonight, we are going to be talking about some stuff. What's going on in your neck of the woods? How's it going? How do you feel on a Saturday? How are your endocolloquial, psycholinguistic, morphological interests, egocentricities? Egocentricities. I can say it. Lovely Cuban from my buddy Kevin down in Florida. Nice. How goes it? DJ John, you're first in chat. Way first. He says, it's only 5 hours early. Good gracious, son. Did you camp out? How was your treatment? How are things? And DJ says, happy Mother's Day tomorrow, everyone in the family. Heart, heart, rose, rose. Yes. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there tomorrow. And all the dads, suck it. You'll get your turn. Amanda says, hi, DJ. Here's a big gold star for you for waiting so long. I mean, he queued up early. Amanda says, hi, by the way. And hi, UntetheredLive family. Good to see y'all. I hope everyone's doing good. Hi, Jake. How are you tonight? Full. Had a big old plate of chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and this Cuban. I am full and loving every minute of it. Hang on a minute. There we go. Amanda says, thank you, DJ, for waiting for so long, and thank you for the Mother's Day wish. Aaron says, I'm watching. What's up, Aaron? Nice to see you, buddy. You the man. Who the man? You the man. Amanda says, hello, Aaron. And Aaron, the peacock shark man. Right on. Aaron says, yo, facts. Amanda says, yep, I ran it through the fact checker. 100%. Yep. Aaron says, I didn't think it would be this hard for me. My heart is broken. Yeah. I know how you feel, Aaron. I lost my mom in 2015. I was holding her hand when she passed, and then I proceeded to be the one to put her in the ground because I wouldn't let anybody else do it. And it is tough. But tomorrow is a day that we celebrate the good things about them, that we remember and that we love, and that we are grateful that we're a part of this world because of their love to keep us alive. So that's a beautiful thing, and you can celebrate that. And I, for one, am grateful that you're here. So your mom is awesome for that reason alone. And I'm sorry it's hard on you, but we're here for you if you need us, buddy. Just reach out. Just an email or a phone call away. That's it. Amanda says, oh, man, I know how you feel. I lost my mom in 2005, but she's smiling down on you, and I'm sure she's proud of you. We are here for you, man. Exactly. And we're proud of you, so I know she is. Aaron says, only 3 Mother's Days for me. Yeah. That's a relatively new wound. I know exactly how that feels. Mine's getting on up there now. It seems like yesterday, but it was 2015. And, I mean, it does get easier. It don't ever get better, but it gets more comfortable. You get more okay with it as time goes on, but it takes a while. My mother was my best friend and my confidant, and I wasn't a mama's boy. Don't take it the wrong way. I lived on my own since I was like 11 years old, but, well, probably 13. But she knew me, and she understood me, and she's in part responsible for me, inflicting me on the world, so she did her part in keeping my claws sharp and my teeth ragged, and I miss that. I miss her. Amanda says, make a playlist of some of her favorite songs and cook something she liked to eat and reminisce of the good times. That's a good idea. Yeah. for those of us who have lost our mothers, tomorrow is a perfect day for us to just reconnect with what it is we loved about our mothers. That's a beautiful idea. Amanda says, it gets easier to live with, but you never forget. True. Aaron says, I have to work and be fake for the day. Well, that's actually a good thing, Aaron. Keep you busy, keep your mind off of it. That's actually a good thing that you have to work. So dive into your work hard, and before you know it, the day will be over, and you can get back to Bible study. Amanda says, oh, well, do something in her memory when you get time off, or when you get off. Something that will make you feel better. You're a strong person. You got this. Absolutely. You are a strong person, and you are a child of God. And to top it all off, you are an Untethered alum. So you got it in spades. The distance, not the color. DJ says, they're all in God's arms now. Heart and prayers. Absolutely true. Aaron says, I'll probably go sit on the bridge at the beach and think. That's a good place to think. Watch the waves come and go. Oh, yeah, you can get some good thinking there. I used to go out in the middle of the night and go sit on a little concrete patio that went across a ditch, like a little walkway. It was perfect. I could put my feet down in the ditch and sit on it. In the middle of the night, somebody else's yard. I don't even know whose house it was, but just a little patio there by the edge of the road, and I'd go sit on that thing for hours and just talk to myself and think. I wonder if they ever saw me out there. I guess it was an older couple. I never saw them moving around, but they did live there. I saw the lights on. But that was my spot for many, many years growing up. I don't go walking at night anymore, but I used to every night. It was a thing. We didn't have YouTube back then. We had to do something, so we went walking. Tasty. Slightly mocha. Patty Donahue says, hello from Earthquake, Tennessee, everybody. Oh, no, are you having earthquakes up there? Over there? That's not good. Hope you're well. Amanda says, that's right, DJ. They are not dealing with the bullshit that we are today. I'm actually kind of grateful that my mom died when she did. She missed all of this woke nonsense. She died just before Trump. So, I think he got started in 2016, right? So just before all of that went down, that's when she passed. So thank God she missed all of this nonsense. She never got to see the LGBTQ community. She never got to see BLM or statues of fictitious people. She never got to see the statues of real people getting torn down. She never got to see riots in the streets and people blowing up buildings and such. Burning up buildings and such. So the world was still relatively sane while she was here, so I'm grateful for that. Amanda says, hi, Patty. Oh, no, not an earthquake. Aaron says, what's up, Patty? How are those mountains? DG says, we're only renting these bodies till the day comes for something better. Well, we're renting until the landlord comes and says, pay up, buddy. It's time to pay up, buddy. You got to go. Mr. P says, good evening, all. John, how you doing, sir? Nice to see you, buddy. Come on in. Rent's due. It's time to go, buddy. I'm just kidding. Amanda says, I'm freezing on this Saturday. Jake is trying to hang meat, LOL. If only there was this person that you could snuggle up next to. That'd be weird. Aaron says, they had an earthquake. I don't know. It sounds like it. Amanda says, hi, Mr. P. And Patty says, listen, we have the oldest, most beautiful mountains in the world, from what I have seen. Aaron, and dang earthquake. Well, I think all mountains are the same age, but they shouldn't be earthquaking. That's bad. Aaron says, oh, crap. And DJ John says, feel okay, feel like dirt, feel like a dartboard, but hey, man, is there anybody playing darts? It's okay to feel like a dartboard if you're being used. It's another thing to feel like a dartboard that's hanging up in the closet. You know what I'm saying? If it's a dartboard where you're being used, at least you're still alive. Amanda says, how bad were they, Patty? And Patty says, it's all on YouTube. Yeah, but we want to hear you say it. Amanda says, okay, I will look. I haven't seen anything about it yet. And Patty says, I missed it. Oh, went to the bathroom. Oh, it must not have been that bad then. If you could go to the bathroom and miss the earthquake, probably not a bad earthquake. If you go to the bathroom and your house splits in half and you're there on the toilet, that's a big earthquake. Fab Daddy said hi. Hey, Fab Daddy, what's up, buddy? What? Good gracious. My phone just started going off. Can't do that while I'm live, Brian. More images. I'll look at them later. I appreciate the artwork, though. As you can see, there are some being used. Thanks to Cosmo for those. But there's more where that came from, so be on the lookout. What's up, Fab Daddy? How you doing this Saturday evening? Amanda says hi. DJ says, I lost my dad in 79, and it does get easier. Prayers for everyone. Sorry for your loss, too, there, DJ. 79, that was 4 years after I was born. 5 years after I was born. Aaron says, I'm glad you're okay, Patty. Me too. Patty says, I should have felt it. That's why I laugh about it now. Well, were you straining when it happened? That would make sense. Patty says, thank you, Aaron. Aaron says, maybe you caused it. Did you eat chicken wings or anything before all of that? That could have been bad. Patty says, I know, right? Fab Daddy says, drill, baby, drill. That's fracking causing those quakes. No, it is not. They're not fracking in Tennessee. You see that? You see that? You see that? Algae in the ocean? Global warming. You see that? You see that tint on my car fading? Global warming. My foot itches. Global warming. Come on, Fab Daddy. Amanda says, I go out walking after midnight, searching for you. I'm easy to find. Aaron says, the patty quake. Patty quake, bakers, man, roll them over, throw them in the pan. I like it. I like how you think. Patty says, walking on dirt roads when young. Yes, ma'am, that's what I did. And it was a dirt road, as a matter of fact. I grew up on a dirt road. Can you tell? Can you tell I'm a dirt road Yankee? Patty says, no, Aaron, that would be cow patty, buddy. 10-4. A cow patty quake. Amanda says, LOL, Patty, and Patty says 4.1. That's a little bit above the shimmy. Amanda says, LOL, really? I'ma come get in your lap. Huh. Aaron says, LOL, or a patty shake. Both can be fun. It depends on how you're laying it down, though. Amanda says, oh no, don't shake the patty. That would be shaking patty syndrome. Fab Daddy says, you can take a puff off that cigar, Amanda. She could. It's been all up in my mouth, though. She don't mind. Aaron says, smiley face. It's a good cigar, too, by the way. I don't smoke a lot of them, but every now and then I got a cigar box over here full. Every now and then I like to have one. Amanda says, LOL, Fab. He likes that too much. Patty says, SPS, shaking patty syndrome. John says, Keir's slimy Starmer took down Winston Churchill's painting out of the Downing Street and got rid of it. And got rid of our history. It got rid of it. Our history is getting deleted. Yeah, I feel the same way over here, John. They're tearing down statues and removing portraits and all kinds of stuff here, too. Like this generation thinks that time started in 2000, and they don't want any reminder of anything that could have happened before that. Seems that way. It's a mistake. If you remove the notions of your past, you are doomed to repeat it. The reason that stuff is there is to remind you, hey, let's not do that again. That didn't work out so well. See this guy? Big statue? Don't be that guy. They don't understand. PTSD, says Aaron. Patty shaking during dookie. That would be PSDD. PSDD. PTSD would be pinch titty slightly, dumbass. PTSD. Patty says Trump takes credit for India and Pakistan ceasefire. That both. Hold on, my chat jumped. Where'd it go? I was on a roll. Here we go. That both haven't ceased. I haven't heard him take credit for the ceasefire. I've been watching the news all day. I've seen no press release or announcement. Where did he take credit for this at? Debbie says those satanic sugar-free gummy bears cause earthquakes. Hi, Debbie. Satanic sugar-free gummy bears. Now, there's a conspiracy theory that we could go down a rabbit hole on. Cross-dressing satanic sugar-free gummy bears with stolen identities. I like it. Patty says Trump stopped Pride Month in June and can't hang rainbow flag. Yes. All right. Let's have a discussion, shall we? And I'm just going to come right out and say it because I don't mince meat very well. If you want to hang your rainbow flag in a Capitol building, that's fine with me. I want to hang the rebel flag in the Capitol building. Argue. Prove to me why I shouldn't and you should. How about that? How about them apples, young people? Tell me again why I can't have a rebel flag hanging off the back of my truck or in my courthouse. By my, I mean in Georgia, where I'm from. It'd be kind of cool here, too, but explain to me why that is. But you want a pride flag, which doesn't belong to a country, hanging in your official buildings. In place of the American flag, which belongs to your country. Amanda says, hi, Debbie. And Debbie says, howdy, all y'all. I like it when you talk Southern. DJ says, hi, Fab. They ain't going to stop the fighting's been happening for decades. Right on. Yeah, this is not a new thing between Pakistan and the other place. You said it and I forgot it. And now I can't find it. Oh, here we are. Pakistan and India. This is not new. Patty says, my road was dirt as well as we had red and black Texas grasshoppers to play with. Oh, nice. Well, we had the red clay dirt roads in Georgia. You know, the one I'm talking about. They're actually orange. And they get on your car and they get... Everybody's car in Georgia that lives on a dirt road is the color of the dirt. And it don't come off. I mean, it would take forever to wash that off. And it'll be right back on it tomorrow. And it kind of burns through the paint. So every car is kind of this auburn brown color. It's weird. You get used to it, though. It's a sight you're used to seeing after a while. Fab Daddy says, back to Politi-tics. Remember Project 2025? Trump says he doesn't know a thing about it, but it's happening. He has completed about half the goals of Project 2025. Wake up. First of all, I'm not asleep. I'll take it in reverse order. I'm not asleep. That's not true. Trump did say that. And I never said he didn't say that. So, back to you. Aaron says, they black in Florida too. It's weird with yellow stripes. What, the grasshoppers? Yeah, I think I remember the Florida grasshoppers. You know that all grasshoppers have the potential to become locusts, right? You ever wondered where locusts come from? They start out as grasshoppers. Then they metamorphosize. They freak out and transform into something meaner and more terrible with mandibles. Amanda says, Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025. Shaking my head. He doesn't. He's not a spokesman. He has never once said a single word from Project 2025 in public. He is not affiliated with the Heritage Foundation who wrote Project 2025. In no way is Trump affiliated with them. In no way. If certain things are occurring that are written in Project 2025, it's because they are common sense solutions to issues we are currently having. It's not because Trump is a Project 2025 shill. That being said, I have no idea what the correlation of what's going on in the world today with Project 2025 because I haven't read it. Because unlike the Democrats who keep trying their very best to make a thing out of something that isn't a thing, I don't care what's in it. I'm not interested at all at what's in Project 2025. As far as I'm concerned, some think tank wrote a piece of paper. Great. It doesn't affect my life in the slightest bit. Oh, and by the way, since the left keeps bringing it up, let me just clarify something. Republicans don't buy Teslas. So people burning Teslas to the ground or, vandalizing them, you're doing it to yourselves. It's other Democrats who are losing their Teslas, not Republicans. And if there's a Republican out there that owns a Tesla, he's probably not part of that whole group. Amanda says, as a matter of fact, he's going against Project 2025. Well, I really don't know. And Amanda says, you need to wake up and get off MSDNC and CNN. Right on. And pinch titty. Haha. Skibbity Jugger says, metal people. Okay, welcome to the show, Skibbity Jugger. I know what that means. Aaron says, I agree with Jake on the statues leaving the trauma, leaving the trauma so no one repeats it. Right. It's a good reminder. We had to grow as a nation. You got to understand that in those days, first of all, slavery is not new. It's not indigenous to the United States. There's nothing unique about that period of time versus the rest of the world in the rest of time. However, we are the first nation that did something different than the rest of the world was currently doing. We changed things. And so for that reason, history, the good stuff and the bad stuff, need to be remembered, which is why we immortalize them in paintings and statues and bills and things like that. Naming buildings and countries and places after them. Whatever. Anyway, counties, I meant to say. My point is, say you take Robert E. Lee, for example. A lot of people on the left don't like that guy because he was a slave owner. Yeah, so probably so was your great-great-grandfather, but whatever. That doesn't matter. He was a great general. He had an interesting life, and he made a few mistakes, which are key. They are key mistakes that caused things to happen in the world. You should remember those things because it's going to happen again, because history, while it does not repeat itself, it does rhyme, and you will see these things reoccur. And if you are not prepared, you're likely to go down the same roads that they went down in the same time back then. So it's good to remember the past for the good guys and the bad guys. Amanda says, what is Trump doing from 2025, Fab Daddy? And Patty says, what is in Florida that is weird with yellow stripes? I think he was talking about the grasshoppers. Amanda says, he just made a deal with the UK for $10 billion. So now what? How about that? Aaron says grasshoppers. Yep. Amanda says, hi, Skibbity, welcome. Kevin Bernard, hello, everyone, and hello, Jake. Kevin, nice to see you, buddy. Come on in. Amanda says hi, and Kevin says, hello, Amanda. EA, what's up, buddy? He says, hello, Abdullah. Hello, EA. Nice to see you. Assalamu alaikum, my friend. DJ says, I had to cancel my trip to Japan. Now I'd rather get better. I hear you, buddy. I'm sorry you had to cancel your trip. That sucks, man, but you do need to get better. You can always go another time, get well first, and then you can travel with comfort and joy. Kevin Cox, what's up, buddy? He says, hey, Amanda, and Amanda, the love of Jake's life. Kevin says, hello, DJ. Kevin Bernard says, hello, DJ. I got 2 Kevins in here now. We got almost 2 of everybody. Linda Davis, hello there. Hello, Linda. How are you? Kevin Bernard says, hello, Kevin Cox. Amanda says, hi, EA, and hi, Linda Hun. DJ says, hi, everyone coming in. Rock on. Already 98 views. Thank you, guys. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, share, support, join, and have a cup of coffee with me. Won't you do that? Go to the kitchen, pour yourself up a nice hot cup. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it endocolloquially. Let's get our psycholinguistic morphological egocentricities in line. If you don't have a cup, though, look down in the description below. You can get one there. I recommend the first one. It has my face on it. It is fantastic. But there are a lot of new choices down there, including but not limited to stainless steel tumblers with locking lids. They hold your coffee hot for hours. They got an Untethered Live Bible Study logo on the front. All my platforms on the back. They look fantastic on the coffee table. Get one while supplies last. And like, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available over in the chat box if you want to show a little love, if you want to throw a little clang-a-lang in my pocket, if you want to. You can do that right over there, or hit that CashApp $ Jake Johnson Band, and I'll get all of it immediately, which is necessary sometimes, and I appreciate that. One last thing. If you would like a place you could hang out with each other outside of the YouTubeverse, outside of the oppressive censorship, outside of me misreading everything you try to print on the chat, and you want to do it somewhere else, you can do that at facebook.com/UntetheredLiveFamily. The link is in the chat. It's a great place to hang out, share pictures, videos, texts, and chats, and get to know one another all by your little lonesome selves. So I recommend you go check that out, and I appreciate the patronage. Now, back to you. Christine Marshall says, Trump posted on Truth that he spent all night in a tough negotiation with a quick ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and hours later, through poor delay of orders, Pakistan broke the ceasefire. Well, there you go. So, Trump organized a ceasefire, and then one side broke that ceasefire. That's not Trump taking credit for something someone else did, and that is someone else breaking what Trump did. So, there's the news. Thank you, Christine Marshall. And hey, buddy, how are you? Kevin says, hello, EA. And Amanda says, hi, Kevin. Which one? Fab Daddy says, so Amanda has multiple personalities? Interesting. I think my cigar went out. Like with most things, it don't stay on fire if you stop sucking. Thank you to Kevin Cox for this lovely Cuban. I appreciate it, buddy, and it's delicious. Debbie says the KKK hijacked the battle flag and the alphabet community hijacked God's promise, the rainbow. There you go. Well, just like the swastika and other symbols, the cross, symbols are powerful. And people that have communities that want to go places usually adopt some form of symbol. That's how you know they're turning into a thing, right? That's when they become a community, when they adopt a symbol. And most striking symbols are adopted by groups all over the place for a myriad of reasons, including the battle flag of the Confederacy. That's just one of many symbols that were co-opted to mean other things. In essence, all it really means is that you see this group over here with the big cross with the stars and bars? Don't want to fight those guys. They're tough. They're rebels. That's what that means. Amanda says, hi, Christine. Kevin Cox says, hey, all others in a special happy wave to the main Jacomatic. Thank you, Kevin Cox. A very special happy wave back to you, too. Amanda says, damn, Fab, why you got quiet? Kevin says, hello, Fab. Christine Marshall says, hi, Amanda. I hope your night is going good. Thank you, Christine. Amanda says, how is that, Fab? Please explain yourself. And I'm good, Christine, thanks, says Amanda. Christine says, Project 2025 sounds great, by the way. I've never actually read it. I don't care. The reason I don't care is because it's not a platform that any of my politicians are currently trying to invoke, although the left really wants us to believe that. I remember when they first started talking about it. It was right before Trump started running full time. He was just getting started. And they really wanted to make that a thing. And it just never became a thing. Why? Because it's not a thing. That's why. See, if they could make it a thing, then they would have something to attack. Something, look, this is bad. He shouldn't be doing this. He ain't never done any of it. It's not his thing. Somebody may have let him see a copy of it at some point, but that's about the extent of it. Along with 1,000 other things that people let him see that they tried to convince him to endorse. Because with Trump's endorsement, things happen, in case you haven't noticed. So just because they tried to get him to endorse it does not mean that he's all for it and that's his platform. Trump is affiliated with Project 2025. In what way? You keep saying that, but there's no evidence that has ever been the case. I'm sorry. Project 2025 is not a thing. It's not a Republican standpoint. It's not a thing. A think tank wrote a paper. That's it. Trump is affiliated with Project 2025 because he has placed some of the authors in his administration and has signed multiple executive orders that follow the 2025 agenda. And by 2025 agenda, I'm willing to bet that every single example that you could think of is a common sense solution to a problem we are currently experiencing, and it happens to line up with someone else who was writing a paper that wrote down some common sense solutions to problems that we are currently facing. And the Heritage Foundation is a foundation, so it is not surprising to me that some of them would end up in the administration. That doesn't mean that Trump picked them because of Project 2025. Maybe they have other qualifications. You ever thought about that? Maybe they're good at whatever position he picked them for. I'll admit, on the face of it, that might be a little suspicious if he ever did anything in the way of Project 2025, but he has not. So, what executive orders has he signed that align with Project 2025? And specifically, be specific because I'm going to look it up now. You're going to force me to read Project 2025 so that I can prove to you that it's not a thing. Amanda says, how about Democrat mayors getting arrested at ICE detention centers, showing their butt and not following federal law? How about that? Debbie says, the Heritage Foundation has made lists since the 80s every 4 years, but all of a sudden it's a President Trump's agenda. Really, are people that ignorant? Apparently, they don't understand what think tanks do. And that's what the Heritage Foundation is a think tank. They come up with propaganda or propositions. They come up with solutions to potential problems. They write papers that detail hypothetical steps that you should take in certain situations, like the handbook for the recently deceased or something like that. That's what they do. Why is it a Trump thing? Trump has never met the Heritage Foundation that I'm aware of in public. He may have, but I haven't heard of it. Amanda says, like what, Fab? Inquiring minds want to know. Aaron says, can someone explain why it matters if they burn Teslas? It don't. It kind of does. Because, number one, Those batteries are very toxic to the environment, and by burning a Tesla, you are polluting the atmosphere and the dirt and everything else that it touches. So actually, they're going against themselves, burning cars that belong to them. It's a really weird situation, that whole burning Teslas thing. It's almost like they don't believe a thing that they talk about, unless it benefits them. Kevin says, Fab, so because Trump supports a couple of things that are in Project 2025, that makes it Trump's project? Good question, Kevin. Christine says he has signed no orders of Project 2025. He signed under the Agenda 47 that he talked about during the campaign. There you go. Can we talk about nondescript, fictitious people being immortalized into statues and placed in Times Square as if it's going to matter? Can we talk about what that's all about? You know, other statues, however gaudy and unlikable they may be, actually stood for people that did heroic things that tended to make people want to immortalize them in the form of a statue. This thing that's out there now, though, and it's happening in more places than just Times Square, but that person does not exist. That is a fictitious person. Can someone tell me why that's there? You can't even twist it and say it's Letitia James, although it looks a lot like her. And would be funny. But that's not her. Almost went out again, but I caught it. Amanda says it's Democrat on Democrat violence, Aaron. Touche. Aaron says, I don't know enough, or if they burn a car, that's not mine, but I'd like to understand. Well, apparently they have a problem with Elon Musk. But what bothers me about this is that's not Elon Musk's car. He doesn't even own the company. He works there. He has a 51% share or something like that. But it's not his company. It's the board's company. But he probably has nothing to do with that car other than that it came from his company. That would be like me burning shoes because I don't like someone else who wears shoes. Fab Daddy says Trump doesn't even know if he should follow the Constitution. He has lawyers for that. Oath of office means nothing to our government. Well, that's true on both sides. However, you got that twisted, buddy. Listen, I will argue with you till the cows come home. I like arguing with you. I don't want to argue with Sonny Halston or anybody from CNN or Barbara Walters or whoever the hell it was that did that interview. I saw the interview. I heard what he said. You're not going to twist it around to me. Why do you do that? Do you think I'm gullible? Do you think I am the average MSDNC viewer that will believe any kind of shit you shove in my throat? I heard what he said. I know the context in which he said it, and so do you. Don't be disingenuous to me. Don't present something to me that you know is factually incorrect just because it sounds good or a Democrat talking point. That's not how you argue with me. If you got a problem with Trump, tell me what that problem is. Don't be twisting his words and trying to make it sound like he said something he didn't say. What he said was, I don't know, meaning I don't understand the language well enough to make an interpretation of what it means, because that was the question. Do you know what this statement means in the Constitution? He says, there are lawyers that do that kind of thing. That's not what I do. My job is to be the president and to come up with solutions for problems. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. He did not say he did not know what the Constitution said, and it did not say that he didn't care what it said. He said there are lawyers that interpret constitutional law. His job is to do something else. So, and in regard, in context to the question that was asked, he did not know, referring to one statement in the Constitution, not the whole thing. It's not good to twist words, especially when you're talking to somebody who heard the conversation. Amanda says the Dems and the extreme left are showing their true colors. Yes, as they usually do. Christine says, of course, some of them were in his administration. They put themselves out there as an all-American agenda, and Trump looks at anything that is fair and good. There you go. There's the answer to why some of the authors of Project 2025 ended up in the administration. They put themselves in the running, and they got picked because Trump is a fair businessman. DJ John says Britain was the first country that abolished slavery, but there is slavery today still. Well, then they didn't abolish it, did they? And I have heard people say that before, but I don't know if that's true or not. I have to look into that one. We definitely abolished slavery. And by we, I mean the West. So if Britain did it, if America did it, it doesn't matter. The Western Hemisphere did something about slavery. Amanda says, OMG Fab, you are farther left than I thought you were. I bet you watch The View every day too, right? Kevin says, Fab, every president has lawyers that work for them. It's called the White House Counsel. Right on. Why? Because I refer to Trump's own words, says Fab Daddy. Yeah, you just left half of them out. I can do that too, you know. Would you like for me to say what you said? I can go back and read all of your comments and tease out something that you said too that will totally not be what you said. But they're your own words. See how that works? Kevin says, Fab, can you name one time Trump has ignored the Constitution? One time. That's a good question. Amanda says, Fab, clearly you are far lefty from California who is touching the woke side too. Shaking my head. That's all right. Fab Daddy says, I can see that Trump was a Democratic. I can see that Trump was a Democratic. A Democratic what? A Democrat? He was a Democrat until he got smart and became a Republican. Actually, he ran on Republican because he wanted to change the country. When he was just in private sector, he was happy being a Democrat. As you would be, because that's the people that get all the free stuff. Amanda says, yep, he was a Democrat. And then he got smart because he wasn't going to put up with the dumb retard shit Dems do. He's smarter than that. Right on. Kevin says, Fab, I'm waiting for an answer. Yeah, one time that Trump has ignored the Constitution. Please like, subscribe, share, support, and join, and hit the super chat if you wish. Thank you very much. Amy Elizabeth says, like, shared, and invited some friends. Hey, y'all. Hey, Amy. How are you, sweetie? Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. We're talking about Trump mania, I guess you would say. Trump tardation. Amanda says, Kev, he don't have any answers. He watches MSDNC and CNN. He's like Harris. Enough said. Ouch. Kevin says, hello, Amy. And Amanda says, hi, Amy. And Amy says, hi, Kevin and Amanda. And Fab Daddy says, Trump administration is currently disregarding the Supreme Court orders to facilitate the return to El Salvador. Hey, Garcia is from El Salvador. There is no scenario in which he can come back to the United States. Why? Because he's a terrorist. Doesn't matter what the Supreme Court said. He is a terrorist. Period. Therefore, he's been deported. Now, El Salvador's not going to send him back, and we're not going to go get him. So why are you complaining about it? Because the Supreme Court made a ruling based on faulty information when they didn't have all the information to begin with? Come on now. By the way, you want to talk about ignoring the Supreme Court? Let's talk about Joe Biden. Shall we? How many times you reckon he violated the Supreme Court's suggestions? Also, are you aware that we elect a president to make decisions for us? President, head of the executive office. If courts could make all the decisions, we wouldn't need a president, would we? So, courts make suggestions, and then it's up to the administration whether or not they follow them. That's how it goes. That's the way it works. And in this case, they are wrong, according to the Trump administration, so Trump's going to do something different. But disregarding the Supreme Court, Fab Daddy, is not ignoring the Constitution, which is the question posed. So are you going to keep coming up with things that are not the question posed, or are you going to answer the question? Which is, can you name one instance where Trump has ignored the Constitution? Kevin says, Amanda, I can list many times Biden has ignored the Constitution. See? And I bet it would be easy. You got one, Trump did, but you see, that's the way presidents operate. If you go back in history, you'll notice that quite a few of them have done so. They also sometimes side with the Supreme Court and embrace what their suggestions are. Amanda says, because he's MS-13 and illegal immigrant. Right. He broke the law. He got deported. That's not above or beyond the Constitution. That's exactly what you're supposed to do with people who break the law and get deported. Kevin says, Fab, you know damn well that's total bullshit. Amy says, talk to El Salvador because they're keeping him on their own, Fab. Yeah, El Salvador does not want him to come back. Why? Because they know he's a terrorist. And Amanda says, he is where he belongs. He's a woman beater too. A woman beater, a terrorist, and an MS-13 member. Come on. What else do you need? Do you want him here? Is that what you're saying? Why do you think he is not here currently, Fab Daddy? Are you arguing for him to be here, knowing what he is? Are you going to accept responsibility when inevitably someone dies because he's here? Those are all good questions too. But I bet you don't want to answer those. I wouldn't. Amanda says, me too, Kevin. And Fab Daddy says, using the Alien Enemies Act to deport citizens without due process. Fab Daddy, he's not a citizen. Not one American citizen has been deported because of the Aliens Act. There are some children that went with their mother, but it was their mother's choice. They weren't deported. That's where you're wrong. That's not an incorrect assumption or an opinion that's gone awry. That's wrong, right? So most of what you've said so far is your opinion of a situation because you don't know any better or because you've been propagandized into thinking that way. In this case, you are factually wrong because the only people that went that are American citizens were the children of an illegal immigrant mother who came here and had children in hopes that they would allow her to stay here with her kids. When she saw that they would not, she took her kids with her, and that's her right as a mother. Or would you rather Trump to be separating families and putting kids in cages again, like Obama did? I think he did the right thing. Aaron says, like when Fab gets fired up, the debates are good. I like it too, Aaron. Even if I don't understand all the politics, I get educated. Well, that's the whole point of it, and that's why we're doing it. Otherwise, I wouldn't try to argue with friends unless there was some benefit from it, which is to educate people on what's actually going on. And when, like it or not, when dumb questions are posed and stern answers are given, the audience tends to grasp what the situation really is, and then they go away a little smarter than they came, which is good. Fab Daddy is a net positive to the show for that reason. Debbie says, Fab Daddy, do you know what facilitate means? Trump is not ignoring any court orders. Right on. Christine Marshall says, Vermont abolished slavery in 1777, Pennsylvania in 1780, and that's earlier than the British who did it in 1833, but really it was 1838. Okay. Well, when I say abolish, I'm talking about the Western civilization, what we know is the Western Hemisphere. We abolished slavery. The rest of the world has not. You don't ever hear them talking about that. Now, what's the difference between slavery that happened in America and slavery that happened in, say, Egypt? The only difference is the race of the slaver. In most cases, slavery is occurring on your own people. So the Egyptians enslaved Egyptians, that sort of thing, or neighboring people. This is the first time it's been two different races in the mix. That's the only difference. Now, the same thing happened in Brazil, and they had more slaves than we had, but they don't have a democratic nation. Right? And this problem never arose over there. It didn't even become a thing. They don't even talk about it. But because we have a left and a right who pose ideas and argue them all the time, this became a big deal, this slavery thing. Now, Brazil had more slaves than we had in the time period that was going on. It's not a thing over there. They don't talk about it to this day like we do. They don't have race riots and race hatred and all of that nonsense like we do. Because of our democratically elected government and the way that our system works, this became a thing. It became a political tool, and then it became a political weapon, and now it's used as political fodder to destroy and divide people. I would recommend we let it go, considering that none of us were involved. Amanda says he is illegal. He don't get due process. Correct. Illegal immigrants are not afforded due process. They get deported. Kevin says, Fab, deport illegal aliens. Period. Exclamation point. I agree. Amanda says, no, Fab thinks there should be open borders and illegals should be allowed. Well, they shouldn't. Amy says, actually, Amanda, anyone in the country is covered by the Constitution, so he is entitled to due process. He did get out. He did get due process and was deported. I disagree with that interpretation. I know that some people use that interpretation. The Constitution was written to, for, and about American citizens. So anyone would mean anyone who is an American citizen. That's assumed in the language, in my opinion. But we are entitled to our opinions. I don't think that illegal immigrants should get due process. I think they should be deported. If they get caught, they get sent back, which is humane. They could shoot them, but I don't want that. But they could do that, and they have done that in other places and other times. So a deportation is actually the humane way to do it. They get to go back to where they came from, no questions asked, no trouble. Just go home. That's it. Fab Daddy says elimination of all DEI programs in Project 2025. Well, yeah, also it's stupid. So it might be in Project 2025, but I assure you there's a good reason to eliminate all DEI programs that has nothing to do with Project 2025. It's retarded. We shouldn't be doing that in the first place. It's about time some adult stood up and got rid of that nonsense. Kevin says, Fab, name one citizen Trump has deported. Put your money where your mouth is. Yeah, man. Amanda says, not if you're illegal. And Amy says, Project 2025 has nothing to do with Trump. Pick a topic. Right on. Christine Marshall says, misconception is that data put out the British pushed legislation decades before the U.S. ended slavery nationally. Gotcha. Amanda says, that's great, Fab. Don't lower standards to hire people. I agree. I think meritocracy is the way to go. I think you should be hired based on your skill level and your abilities and your intellect and your likability. I think if you have a split tongue and piercings in your face, you shouldn't get hired for high-class jobs because you don't care enough about yourself to be presentable. Why would you want this company to represent themselves with your face? Kevin says, I'm thinking Fab Daddy is here just to try and steal shit. Steal shit? Nah. No, Fab Daddy does a good service here. He has every right to do it. Amy says, yes, Amanda. It's in the Constitution, but he did get due process and was deported. Agreed. And I understand what you're saying about it saying all people. I disagree with that interpretation, but it does say that. Amanda says, there is a clause in the 14th Amendment that says if you're illegally here, you don't have the right to due process. I'd have to see that one. Amanda says, I know a judge deported him. Right. Debbie says, Democrats have no platform, and that is why they make shit up. True. They are kind of flailing right now. The defeat really sent them reeling. I don't know if they're going to recover. Right now, they're kind of grasping at straws for anything that sticks to the wall. Amanda says the Constitution is for American citizens. I agree. Fab Daddy says, and by the way, Fab Daddy, you still haven't answered the question. One time Trump has ignored the Constitution. We're still waiting on that answer. It's not likely to go away. Hang on, my chat jumped. It jumped a lot. I'm still looking. All right, I found it. I found it. Fab Daddy says, Amy, Garcia was given protective status as a citizen, still deported without due process. No, he got due process. He went before a judge. He did have his case heard, and he was deported. And he got protective status. So, he was found to be an illegal. Bye-bye. I don't understand what the problem with is. What do you know about Garcia? What kind of person do you think Garcia is? Why are you so vested in his future in America? Do you have any answers to those questions? And that's me asking. Your good buddy who allows you to ask whatever questions you want. And I answer them. Maybe eventually I'll get this thing to burn. I think I need a humidifier or something. It's kind of dry. Oh, let's see here. And Amanda says he's not an American. He's here illegally. He was here illegally. Patty says a good chat always has an antagonist. Sometimes they're friends with the host. Exactly. And that's what I consider Fab Daddy to be. The antagonist or the heel of the chat. And much like in pro wrestling, the heel is the bad guy. And is treated as such. And acts like such. But we're still buddies. You see how that works? Colin Hildebittle. What's up, buddy? He says, hey, guys. What you up to, Colin? About 4.5? 4 3/4? Kevin says, Garcia was a citizen of El Salvador. Exactly. Not an American citizen. Amanda says Garcia is a gang member and a wife beater. He's here illegally. He had a judge deport him. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. My question is why are certain lefties so invested in having him come back? What do they know about this guy? Why are you defending him? Amanda says, hi, Colin. Fab Daddy says HSI officers broke into homes of innocent people. No Fourth Amendment rights. Trump's fault. Who? They're not innocent people if they're illegal immigrants, Fab Daddy. Get it through your head. Being an illegal immigrant's a crime. It's a federal crime, not a misdemeanor. The kind of thing that would have federal agents kicking your door in the middle of the night. That kind of thing. Amanda says, LOL, Patty, not me. Not you what? Debbie says, Fab Daddy, his protected status was a moot point the minute Trump made MS-13 a terrorist organization. And since you will get stuck on facts, Garcia. Something. Yes, MS-13 has been designated a terrorist organization, which not only makes him an illegal immigrant, but a terrorist. Do you want terrorists to be in the country? I don't think you do. Colin says, I loaded up a 700-pound scrap steel last night and used 2-inch ratchet strap and made $53.20. Well, you go, buddy. That's excellent. Aaron says, what is Project 2025? Project 2025 is a proposal that a think tank called the Heritage Foundation wrote up some years ago and presented it to many different people who were running for office to try to get them to, take on some of the ideas that were espoused in this memorandum. None of them did because overall it's a little bit loosey-goosey on the morals. And at some point when Trump ran for office, somebody read it and said, hey, we can pin this on Trump. Let's everybody start saying he's a a proponent of Project 2025. And so everybody did in lockstep like they always do about everything. But he's not. It's never been a thing. It's never going to be a thing. It's just a piece of paper. But that's what Project 2025 is. Just a proposal. Kevin Bernard says, this point Fab is just spewing BS. From this point on, I will ignore his position, or I will ignore his pointless CNN comments. Well, sometimes he has a good point. Colin says, now I'm processing on aluminum on the tailgate of my truck. All right. You have a truck? Thought you were like 15. I had a truck when I was 15, but the 15-year-olds are different nowadays. Amanda says they went in with active warrants and removed illegals from American homes. Correct. Amy says, I respectfully disagree. I've looked it up and discussed it extensively. Like it or not, anyone in this country is covered by the Constitution. Okay. Well, I understand that that's your position, and that's okay that we disagree. I disagree on that interpretation. I think the Constitution was written for American citizens, about American citizens, by American citizens, for we the people who are American citizens. But I understand your interpretation of it, and I understand where that comes from. And it's okay that you think that. But in my interpretation of the law, that's a no-go. And again, that's my opinion. It doesn't have any value. Debbie says, admitted it, and the rival gang was eliminated. So that ended it too. So a judge said he could be deported. Right. So it's been admitted twice under judges that he is in fact affiliated with and a member of MS-13. He has the tattoo on his hand that is often used as a symbol for MS-13. He like spells it out in code, like emojis. It's like a smiley face and a Christmas tree and a McDonald's or something. I don't know what it is. But he is an illegal alien. He is a terrorist. That's why he was deported. The administration did nothing wrong in deporting another illegal immigrant. The fact that it's him means nothing. Kevin says, hello, Colin. And Amanda says, it's a Biden left report. It's left, Aaron. No, if you're talking about the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, it is a proposal written by a think tank. It is a part of the Biden administration or the Trump administration. It's just a think tank. Just a group of people that have a vision of how they would like to see America function. I don't know that I agree or disagree because I've never read it. Amanda says, way to go, Kevin. And okay, Amy, we agree to disagree. Love you. Well, that's fine. It's okay to disagree. That's people these days, if you have a disagreement, that's like the end of the friendship. That ain't going to be that way here. I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care how I feel about it. It's just two different sides of a same coin, as far as I'm concerned. It's all right to disagree. Aaron says, report for what, Amanda? Christine Marshall says, Amanda is a beast. Fact. Amanda says, it's like a 900-something page thing that was released, and it don't mean anything. Right. April Rain's in the house. She says, hey, everybody. We have CJ and Connor with us, and I just came in to say hello. I love y'all. Hugs and kisses. Well, hello. Hugs and kisses. We love you, too. Happy Mother's Day. Tomorrow. And also, to all the ladies here who may have children, happy Mother's Day tomorrow. I hope you have the most blessed day, and I hope your children show you all the love in the world, and I hope that your day is wonderful. May everybody buy you flowers and candies and cards and happiness all around. Happy Mother's Day. April says, hi. April said hi. Hi, April. Twice. Aaron says, oh, what was it for? It was just a proposal. One of those things that a new president might look at and go, oh, I think these are good ideas. I'll do these. But he didn't. You know what? I'm tired of trying to make that thing light. This one will stay lit. Amanda says, hi, April. And Kevin says, hello, April. And Amanda says, I'm not exactly sure. I think it was to try and make Trump look bad and say he came up with it, but he didn't. Kind of, sort of. And it may very well be that kind of thing. It may be planted there just to make Trump look bad, though I don't think that's the case. But there are things like that, such as the Steele dossier. Those things do exist. But I don't think the Heritage Foundation wrote it to hurt Trump. I think it was just their idea of what they wanted the world to look like. Fab Daddy says, April, CJ, and Connor, hello. Amy Elizabeth says, it's fact. Anyone in the country is covered by the Constitution. I can look things up too. I'm just glad that I'm just glad that guy is gone. Right on. I know you can look things up. I wasn't questioning your ability to look things up. You're not fixing to freak out on me too, are you, Amy? It's okay if you believe something against what I believe. That's fine. I believe it a certain way. You believe it a certain way. It says the same thing regardless of who believes what about it. That's not in question. April says, hi, Amanda, Jake, Kevin, and Aaron, and much love to all. DJ says, Sadiq Khan, the London major, won't place a statue of the late Queen of England. Instead, a pile of scrap. That's terrible. Amanda says, Project 2025 is a political initiative to reshape the federal government of the United States and consolidate executive powers in favor of right-wing policies. Right. But it's a proposal that was not intended to be law. It was intended to be, I'm trying to think of a good word. For instance, look here. We could do it this way. Right? It's that kind of thing. April says, John and Amy, good to see you, loves. What's up, Fab Daddy? Good to see you, too. Aaron says, hi, Rain. And Amanda says, April, don't love me anymore and don't return my calls or texts. April, you should return your calls and texts. April says, hi, Colin, love. And Amy Elizabeth says, hi, April. And Amy says, hi, Colin. And April says, I'm so sorry, Amanda. DJ John says, hi, April and Amy, heart. And Amanda says, I thought you loved me, April, LOL. Heart, heart. And Fab Daddy says, the question was, should you follow the Constitution? No. The question was, can you name an example of when Trump has ignored the Constitution? Or are you referring to the interview that Trump gave where he was asked the question, should you follow this specific line in the Constitution? It wasn't asked in general. It was asked specifically about what they were talking about. And what he said was, in response to more than one question being asked of him, I don't know. We have lawyers that do that, meaning that argue what the interpretation of the Constitution means. This may come as a shock to you, but many, many, many people question the interpretation of the meaning of a statement, much as what me and Amy just did. There are scholars that do that on a daily basis, year-round. That's what the Supreme Court does. They interpret the Constitution, and they apply it to situations that are happening in today's society. For example, The Constitution says that there's a Protection Act for anyone in the country. In my opinion, that means American citizens in the country. Anybody in this country is covered as an American citizen because the Constitution is reflexive of American citizens. It is not an umbrella thing for the whole world, and anybody can't just come here. That's why we have a border, and that's why they're called immigrants. You have to come in legally, which is a process where you are grafted into the society that we've built, which involves, conforming to that society. Therefore, you become an American citizen. So an immigrant would be an American citizen. An illegal immigrant would not be an American citizen, which means they are not purview to the laws of the land. They are not purview to the excesses and the benefits of the land. They are illegal immigrants. They don't belong in the rat race. They have to get out of the rat race. That's why I interpret it that way, but that's my interpretation. Amy sees it differently. She thinks anybody in the world, if they're physically in this country, are covered by its laws. That's not true, because if that were true, we would not have immigrants and illegal immigrants. It would just be free for all anybody to come in my opinion. In her opinion, it's different. So there are people in Washington, such as the lawyers Trump was referring to, whose job it is to come up with an interpretation and then stand on that interpretation so that other people can act as if they understand the Constitution, right? So if the president's going to make a decision, say, we're going to get Garcia out of here, what does the Constitution say? Well, the Constitution says that anybody in America has a protection. Okay, well, we have anything to back that up? Well, yes, you instituted the Alien Enemies Act, and if you make MS-13, which is a thing he's a member of, if you make them a terrorist group, then he will fall under that category instead. You see, that's what the interpreter's doing. And then Trump goes, okay, so we got MS-13 member. I'm going to say they're a terrorist group, so this guy falls under the terrorist group watch. He's also illegal, so we got that because we have borders. So he doesn't have a passport. That makes him an illegal immigrant because he was not invited and he did not come in through proper channels. That makes him illegal. So now we've got two things that cause him to not have the protection. So we're going to deport him back to El Salvador. Then he calls up El Salvador and says, hey, we're going to send a guy back to you. You got any problem with that? The guy says, well, are you going to give me money this year? Trump says, of course, we always do. Well, then I have no problems with it. Click, click. There he goes. That's how that works in Washington, D.C. That's the abridged version. That's why we have conversations like this to parse out what it might mean. Because, like it or not, the people that wrote the Constitution were very smart, and they considered all of these things in putting it together, which is why it takes a team of people years and years and years and years to debate the meaning of the document and write laws based on it. There you go. DJ John says, hi, Colin. Amy Elizabeth says, hi, John. April says, I've been so busy. I have the boys, and it's CJ's birthday next Sunday. And we are taking him and Connor to Dave and Buster's now for his birthday next Sunday. Nice. Amanda says he follows the Constitution. I believe he does. Fab Daddy says he doesn't know, Amanda. How do you think he became the president? You think he had no idea what the Constitution was? You think he didn't walk around with a copy of it in his pocket? I do. Why wouldn't he? Actually, it's not in my pocket, but it's around here somewhere. He does know what the Constitution says, Fab Daddy. You're taking a comment out of context. Go back and watch the interview again. You'll see he's talking about more than one subject at a time here. And Amanda says, okay, have fun, April. And Debbie says, Fab Daddy, you should be careful. Remember, thou shalt not bear false witness. Amanda says, because he deported Garcia, a judge ordered it. Right. April says, hi, Debbie. Good to see you, lovely. Amy says, oh, by the way, happy Mother's Day, Jake. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you, too. I hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow, and I hope that all your children show you the most love you've ever had in your life. And I hope they bring you flowers and cook dinner for you and wash the dishes and all kind of stuff. Most of all, I hope you have a great day. And Fat Daddy says, how about Trump post a picture of him as a pope? Well, Trump didn't post that picture, but even if he did, it's funny. What's the problem with that? Is that okay? Of course it's okay. Imagine Obama doing that. You mean like when they shot pictures of him like Superman or Christ in that pose? Yeah, he's done that. You would have a field day. Shit. You Republicans get upset over tan pants. Really? What did I say about tan pants? Man, how do you know I'm a Republican? You ever hear me say I was a Republican? Did you just assume my identity, Fab Daddy? I think you did. And by the way, Obama most certainly had pictures of himself in various states of disarray. Hell, he pretended to have a birth certificate, for God's sakes. So, is it all right for Trump to post a meme about him being the Pope? Yeah, it's all right. Nobody cares. He's not trying to be the actual Pope. In case you haven't noticed, you got to be in Italy to do that. April Rain said hi again. Hi, April. Amy says, Fab Daddy, it's a joke. Satire. Jeez, right. Do you think he's actually trying to, usurp the Pope or the papacy? Aaron says, oh no. A smiley face with a gun. Smiley got a gun. Whole world's come undone. What did that smiley do? He most certainly wrote an IOU. But when Smiley got arrested, he put a bullet in his brain. Sorry. April says, LOL, Jake. Amanda says, he did not do that. Someone else did. Just like the video of Trump trying to hold his hand. Come on. Do you really believe everything you see and hear? Right. There was a joke where they showed the Pope and Trump standing side by side, and then they showed a close-up of the hands, and Trump was playing footsie with his hands. It was a meme. Somebody made that. Most likely AI. It wasn't real. Sure, it's a joke. Now, what do you honestly think that Trump would become the Pope and that, that other country over there would allow that? The country he's not the president of? You really think that? Do you think that I'm actually a cartoon? Did you see my thumbnail? You think I'm actually a cartoon? Patty says he's actually running this thing while as president, just like The Apprentice. You fired. It was the best show and fair. Yes, he is running this country like a business because he is a businessman, and that is exactly how you want the president to act. I agree. Amanda says, I can make a picture of you screwing a cow too, but will it be true? Fab Daddy says, depends on the cow. What's her name? Debbie says, it is my understanding that there is still slavery in the Sudan. There's still slavery everywhere, Debbie. Slavery is a big business. It's one of the biggest businesses in the world. And we have slavery here, by the way, except now we call it sex slavery or a job. But it's the same principle. You ever seen a bunch of people working in cubicles? That's not unlike a plantation. April says, he was in The Apprentice, wasn't he? Yeah. He was the apprentice. Or actually, he was the boss. They were the apprentices, but he was the show The Apprentice. Amy says, it was always intended as a joke. Lighten up a little. Trump loves trolling the left. He got you. Amy, they fall for it every single time. Like when Trump says something ridiculous, like the last tweet that he did. I forget now what it was, but he put out, it was about the movie industry. He put out a tweet saying he was going to put 100% tariffs on movies that were out of the United States. And the left freaked out. I mean, we had conversations about it here. I'm like, you do understand that's not policy, right? That was a tweet. He didn't do an executive order. It's a tweet. And the reason he did it was to start the conversation. Trump always leads with something outlandish and then works his way back to something that is negotiable. But it gets the conversation, and everybody on the left picks it up and runs with it, which is why we get to talking about it. And next thing you know, things happen. That's the way he works. And they fall for it every time. It's like they can't help themselves. They have to fall for it. It's kind of funny, actually. April says, hi, Patty. How you doing? And Patty says, he will fire someone in a quick minute. Yes, he will. Aaron says, LOL. DJ says, Patty, Ronald Reagan was a film star before becoming president. Yes, he was. Debbie says, Fab Daddy, when their names got on a list for deportation, that is their due process. There you go. That has to go through a court, doesn't it? You don't just get put on the list. April says, I could have sworn when he was on the Gutfeld show, he said he played in that show. Yeah, he was in The Apprentice, for sure. He's the guy that said, you fired. Dakota Wright says, hey, friends. Hey, Dakota. Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Politi-tics, the show led by a cartoon character. Amanda says, the Supreme Court said he can't come back. That's right. Amy says, exactly, Amanda. Besides, Trump is king of the trolls, and they always fall for it. It's fun to watch the left cringe. Yes, it is. It's even funnier to watch them try to make memes because they can't meme either. They really don't understand that whole process. But they try. They've made a few. Every one they've made has backfired on them, though, and did the exact opposite of what they were trying to do. But nonetheless. Amanda says, hi, Dakota. And DJ John says, hi, Dakota. Dakota says, hey, Amanda. April says, hi, Dakota. Good to see you. Amy Elizabeth says, hi, Dakota. April says, hit that like button, everybody. Subscribe, share, support. Much love, and
VJ, now I lay me down to sleep. Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake,
VJ. I've been a good dog.
Best friend, right through it all. VJ.
Come on now.
If I die before I wake, VJ.
All right, my theme song. Thank you, April. Fab Daddy says, to the guy that said I was stirring the pot, you are correct. Don't burn the meal. That's cool, Fab. Dakota says, hi, Amy Elizabeth. And Amy says, Fab, if you're going to stir the shit, eventually you have to lick the spoon. Blah. Blah. April says, I love you guys. I gotta go. See you in the next one, okay? Loves and hugs. April, God bless you. Happy Mother's Day. Have a great day tomorrow. Enjoy your kids. Christine Marshall says, the Supreme Court can't tell El Salvador to deport an El Salvador citizen to America. Correct. And they don't want to. That's the funny thing about it. the left keeps saying, well, he's over there and he wants to come home, or they need to send him home. El Salvador don't want to send him home. They're perfectly fine keeping him in prison over there because guess what? He's a terrorist. And the more of them you got in jail, the better off your country is. Amanda says, Amy, I wouldn't want a lefty licking my spoon. I might get cuties. Linda says, have fun with the boys, April. Love you. Hi, Linda. You've been so quiet over there, I forgot you were sitting there. Amy says, Christine Marshall. Amy, thumbs up. Just heard Jake say your comment. Dakota Wright says, hi, Linda. Linda Davis says, hi, Dakota. Good to see you. Amy says, why do Democrats care more about criminals than innocent citizens? I do not understand that myself. They seem to be grasping at straws and picking any battle they might be able to win. And unfortunately, like when you see a person debating and then they're forced to defend a bad guy to make their point, and then they don't realize that they just made themselves look stupid. I think that's what the Democrats are doing right now. They're forcing themselves to defend the bad people because that's the only people left, because all the other people have gone this way, and they're like, yeah, we're tired of that. We're not doing that anymore. So they literally got nowhere else to go, I think. I don't really know. I don't know why they do that. The only other option is they're completely and hopelessly evil to the core, and they know it. And I really don't want to believe that about people, but they might just be evil. They might really hate us that much. You hear people say that all the time. They hate your guts. They want you to die. I don't really believe that, but they might. They might actually hate us. And if they do, if they hate this country so much, I wish they would remove themselves from it. Thank you. You know, you can always be like Rosie O'Donnell and go over and terrorize another country until you realize that this is the best place to be. Fab Daddy says, 2 and 5, everybody. Have a great night and much love. Even though the disrespectful ad hominems, I love yous. Nobody has ad hominem you. What has anybody said to you, Fab Daddy, that was not correct? What has anybody said to you that was calling you a name of any kind? I didn't call you any names. I've argued every point you made, but I didn't call you any names. There's no ad hominem attacks coming from me. And I'm the guy talking, so, you know, I love you too. Come back and see us tomorrow night. We'll talk something peaceful. And happy Mother's Day. Patty says, you ladies come down on poor old Fab Daddy. Amy says, if you throw shit, you get shit back, Fab. See you later. Thanks for stopping by. Kevin Bernard says, Fab, I hope you're not saying I disrespected you. No, he's just saying things that Democrats say. Nobody's thrown any insults that I've heard. I didn't read any anyway, and I wouldn't. Or I would stop and say, don't do that, because if you start throwing insults, you've lost the argument. That's generally debate 101. When the minute you start calling another guy names or losing your temper, you've lost the argument. And I don't lose arguments. Fat Daddy says, Amanda says, OMG, Fab, run, Forrest, run. And you asked for this, and when we prove you wrong, you run. Typical. He ain't running. He's just got to go to work tomorrow or something. Linda says, we love Fab. He's just a little confused, LOL. He's my Democrat. He's a Democrat, but he's mine. Amanda says, he's probably referring to me, and he can dish it out, but he can't take it. Nah, I usually don't say nothing. Aaron says, thank you, Fab. Yes, thank you, Fab. Thank you for your contribution to the conversation. It would not be as fun without you, so I appreciate you very much. And Amanda says, good night, Fab. And Kevin says, Amanda, it's not disrespectful to ask questions. Correct. No one has thrown any ad hominem attacks that I've seen. And I've read all the chat, so. There has been a few talks like throwing shit and things like that, but that's not a direct attack on a person. That's just talking about the subject matter. Walter Davis says, good evening all. What's up, Walter? Nice to see you, buddy. How you doing? Kevin Bernard says, hello, Walter. And Amanda says, hi, Walter. Long time no see. How you been? Patty says, hi, Walter. Kevin says, hello, Patty. And Patty says, hi, Kevin B. Amanda says, I know, Kevin, but I'm just tired of the craziness. If you're going to call someone out on something, then we have receipts, or then have receipts. I'm over it. Yeah, if you're going to say something, if you're going to make a stand, you need to have receipts. You can't just say shit. That's not how it works. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't say it. If you heard somebody else say it, and it's not a thought that came out of your head, don't say it. Because chances are someone's going to ask you a question and you're going to be left with nothing to say because you don't really know what you're talking about and you hadn't figured that out yet. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it is massively affecting most of the people in this country. And what that means is you know enough about a subject to think you know about that subject. And then you proceed to present yourself as if you know that subject, but you just know a little bit. You don't actually know enough about that subject. The actual truth is you're woefully unprepared to carry on a conversation about that subject. You should probably start from that position and not the Dunning-Kruger position. But I digress. DJ says, today, where do people think they're getting the ingredients for batteries and wind turbines from slavery? True. And also, they're bad for the environment ingredients. Christine says hi. Hey, Christine. That must be a new thing. I've seen that a few times. Different people said hi. That must be a YouTube thing. Or are you actually typing said hi? And if that's the case, where'd you get that from? That's a relatively new phenomenon. It was a robot? Okay. So we have people robots pretending to be people from my chat then. That's not good. Amy Elizabeth says, I watched my dog tuck his tail between his legs and run off once. He knew he was in trouble. I see what you're saying. Amanda says, exactly, Amy. Amy says, per Google, the U.S. Constitution covers all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States, including both citizens and non-citizens. This includes individuals regardless of their immigration. Well, that last part there was added by a person, not in the Constitution. It does say within the jurisdiction of the United States. Jurisdiction is the word we're arguing about. And what that means, in my opinion, is those who are under the purview or the umbrella of United States of America, the corporation, which means citizens. That's my argument. We're arguing about the meaning of the word jurisdiction in this context. Not all persons, because all persons can mean anything, including and limited to the universe. But if they're under the jurisdiction of the United States, they are citizens. Kevin says, if you have been declared illegal in this country, that is due process. This is true. If you've been declared, someone declared it, which is a judge, that's the due process, correct. Amy says immigration status, as they are still entitled to certain fundamental rights and protections outlined in the Constitution. Right, well, again, that portion of that statement is added by a person, not in the Constitution. If you read the Constitution, it will tell you all that it tells you, but it doesn't say that. It says jurisdiction of the United States. We're talking about this subject. It's nice to think that, but that's not what jurisdiction means. Amanda says, I will have to find the video where a congressman breaks down the Constitution and explains the amendment. Well, if I'm not mistaken, it's the 14th Amendment, and you can go look it up. It's there for everybody to see. I might be mistaken, though. Linda says, I think you're right, Amy. The exception is terrorist groups and members. Right. Again, it's open to interpretation. That's the whole point of the Constitution. It was intended to be argued over, and it was intended to be easily read into multiple interpretations. That way you can have arguments about it and come to what's best for the country and then do that, which is fine with me. That's the idea. That's the wisdom of the people that wrote the Constitution, was so that you'd have to argue about it and then come up with a consensus of what something means. Again, we are in a democratically operated constitutional republic, which means that if a number of people agree, then that's the law of the land. Kevin says, Amy, if you have been declared illegally in this country, that is due process. I read that one. And Amy says, that's what she said. Oh, that's what I said, Kevin. Right. I think you're both saying the same thing. Amy says, and I also said that, Linda. And Aaron says, how did they decide before immigration? Immigration has always been a part of all countries. They might have called it something else, but when you migrate, you migrate. There's a difference between migrating and border jumping, right? When you migrate, you assimilate. That's the word I was looking for earlier. You assimilate. That means you become a citizen. You learn the language, you learn the walk, you learn the talk, you learn the dress, you learn the food, you learn the customs, you become an American. That's how it works. Sometimes you even change your last name so it sounds more American. That's what an immigrant does. An illegal immigrant just comes right on in and does whatever the hell they want to and ends up on welfare. Not a good place. Amanda says, your chat's gonna jump. Give me a minute. I gotta find where I left all that. Good gracious. The chat just grew a lot. 9:36. Good gracious. Amanda said the public safety exception situations of immediate danger are when individuals are not considered citizens and thus do not have the full protection of the 14th Amendment. Go up one more. Oh, I see. How did they decide before immigration? Amanda says the exceptions to due process in the United States Constitution involve specific situations where certain procedural protections might be waived or limited. These exceptions primarily apply to cases involving the public safety exception, situations of immediate danger, or when individuals are not considered citizens and thus do not have the full protection of the 14th Amendment. Why would they not have the full protection of the 14th Amendment? Because they are not under the jurisdiction of the United States of America, meaning they're not citizens. That's why it doesn't apply to them. However, there are carve-outs for people in that situation. And in this case, that guy went before a judge. That case was heard, and he was found to be wanton and deported. So he had due process. He went under the carve-out of the Constitution. All things were in place, and he met the criteria of an illegal immigrant and a terrorist. Therefore, he was deported legally. This should be the end of that conversation. But for some reason, people keep asking. And it's usually lefties that do that, because they don't like the solution. I understand. You don't like being the adult. You don't like kicking people out. I get it. But that's the way this country works. And if you don't have that, you don't have a country. So that's why other people argue the interpretations, and we just live by the consequences, so we don't have to make those kind of decisions. Kevin says, Aaron, have you ever heard of Ellis Island? Ellis Island was a location where immigrants came in during the 30s, or whatever time it was they came in. And there was a post there where they had to check in and then go to wherever they were supposed to go to follow the instructions to become a citizen. And Aaron says, yes. And Amy says, I think we're talking about two different things. It's possible. Kevin says, Aaron, those people were held in quarantine and vetted before released into the country. Correct. Well, they were more than vetted. They were also tested, and they were documented, and they did a number of other things, including being deliced and, have a purpose and all that good stuff. And then they were released into the country as immigrants, which then they were allowed to go in and, set up shop and become citizens, start the assimilation process. A lot of people changed their names at that time. A lot of people went into business at that time, or knew someone or had someone waiting for them where they could go into business. And they all became citizens of the United States and were proud to do so. And it takes time. It takes time. And nowadays it takes a lot of time because there's so many people in line trying to do the right thing by coming in legally. And it is a process, and it is a bore, but it's the right way to do it. Now, we should open up more ports of entry. Now, that I agree with. I think if you want more immigrants, then why not make it easier for for immigrants to come in legally? Make more places, hire more people that do that sort of thing, lower the list in the waiting time, maybe lighten up on some of the expectations, that sort of thing. However, they don't do that. They just try to protect illegal immigrants when they come over illegally, which is bad for the country. Amanda says, we might be referring to the 14th Amendment. No, I'm referring to the 14th Amendment, which is what I was referring to, but I think we're arguing around in circles because ultimately it doesn't matter how I think it goes or how she thinks it goes. It matters how it went and what happened. Fab Daddy says, Garcia first, then your rights. That's why I'm invested. My rights have gone nowhere, Fab Daddy. I have the same rights I've always had. They're not in any danger either. Let's do a stock, shall we? Let's take stock of when in the last 20 years our rights were actively stomped on. Can you say Joe Biden? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the years. Can you say Obama? 4, 5, 6, and 7. Those were the years. Can you say Clinton? It's funny. Seems like the times that our rights are actually being taken from us, the Democrat in office. I wonder why that is. That's why I'm invested. Walter Davis says, Roosevelt was the king of deportation, and he was a Democrat. Sent Mexican ancestry back to Mexico, even if they had been here for generations since the Mexican-American War. Fab Daddy said, also trying to enjoy my dinner. Right on. Well, you do enjoy your dinner. What are you having for dinner? Walter Davis says, Roosevelt deported real American citizens. Amy Elizabeth says, I knew you couldn't stay away. Welcome back, Fab. Amanda says, Garcia before the Americans. Really, Fab? Christine says, well, that depends on who is interpreting the Constitution. Correct. The Constitution itself doesn't talk about illegal immigrants, but is wrongly interpreted to be considered in our borders. Yeah, I think the people that wrote the Constitution were primarily concerned about America. They weren't thinking about people coming in. They weren't thinking about people outside of America. They were trying to set up the laws and the government system of America, which is why I tend to believe that that's what they were talking about. But again, it's just an interpretation. It doesn't mean I'm right. Debbie says, Garcia admitted to being MS-13 to get protected status. El Salvador eliminated the rival gang, and that made it safe for him to go home. Right. Fab Daddy says, Garcia's child needs him home, not in a foreign jail. Well, he probably should have thought about that before he became an illegal immigrant, which was involved in terrorism, shouldn't he? Walter Davis says, why did Democrats pick such horrible people when there are actual good people who are victims? Right. I agree with that. That question was asked earlier, and I really don't have a good answer for that. I think they're just grasping at straws because that's the only people left that they can pick as theirs. DJ John says, someone should tell Keir Starmer that breaking into countries is illegal. It's a crime. I agree. Christine Marshall says, any person was already solved. Any person was already solved a sentence before when they said an American citizen. Any person was already solved a sentence before when they said an American citizen. I don't know what you mean by that, Christine. Linda says, my family had to be sponsored by an American citizen and able to come to this country. My grandfather and uncle came first through Ellis Island, and the rest came over after it was closed. I hear you. Yeah, I don't know a lot about how they did it in those days, but I got the gist of it, you know. Kevin Bernard says, Garcia should have thought about that before entering the country illegally. I agree. Fab Daddy says, let's reinstate Alcatraz as a federal prison. Yes, let's. I think that's a fantastic idea. It has gravitas. People know about it and fear it. And if you get sent there, you send a message to other criminals that you might get sent there. It will have a positive effect on the lowering of crime all around. Yes, let's open Alcatraz. I think that's a brilliant idea, Trump. Why has no one done this earlier? And it's in California, which sends a real message. It's a win-win-win-win-win. Let's open Alcatraz as a federal prison so Trump can put more people in prison that he thinks against his beliefs. Are you aware how big Guantanamo Bay is? Do you have any idea what you're actually saying? Because Trump has plenty of places and ways to put people in prison if he so chooses. He is the leader of the DOJ. It is his White House. He has the prerogative to do so, just like the other guys did when they were in office. What are you saying? You think that his beliefs is how you get to put somebody in prison? Do you think any judge would go for that? Well, Trump believes it. We must have to put this guy in prison. I think it's a legal thing that gets you put in prison. If you break the law, you go to jail. If you dislike something that he believes, you don't go to jail. That would be a Biden thing. That's why all the J6 people are still in jail or having trouble with all of that stuff. Because as far as they understood, they were walking into the people's house, which belongs to them. They pay taxes. They have every right to be there. They didn't know they were trespassing. Amy Elizabeth says, ask Lakin Riley. Oh, wait, you can't, because an illegal R-worded her and M-worded her. How about that? Christine Marshall says, give them an inch and they take a mile. Yep. Amanda says, LOL, his child is just fine without him. He's never around anyway, says his mother. He's better off without him, were her words. That don't sound very good for your argument there, Fab Daddy. Aaron says, think tank? Yeah, it's a group of people that sit around and dream up stuff to write about. That's what a think tank is. Amy says, Aaron, a think tank is a group of people that sit around and think about shit to write about. That's what a think tank is. And Debbie says, Aaron, think tank. A group of people that get paid to think. Ha 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 ha. And puts those thoughts on paper. Ha 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 ha. Yes. Christine says, our Constitution never considered a foreigner a citizen. There is a legal process. It has been hijacked by the globalists. I agree with that statement. Aaron says, I want that job. You and me both, Aaron. I've been trying to get on that ticket for many, many years now. I want to be one of those guys that goes to like buildings and does public speaking, like a keynote speaker. You ever watched Kent Hovind go up and do a presentation on dinosaurs or something like that? I want that job. How do you get that job? I've never even heard of anybody inviting anybody to go to those places. They just happen to be. You watch a video and there they are. I want that job. Go from church to church and do like a presentation on the Bible or something like that. I'd love that. Amy says Garcia should not have committed crimes. Agreed. Fab Daddy says, as far as the Constitution with Trump, he thinks he can fire federal workers. He can. He's the president, Fab Daddy. Who do you think the federal workers work for? What are you saying? Wrong. Congress has power over the purse, not the executive branch. Incorrect. The executive branch can execute. That's what executives do. Yes, Congress has power of the purse to write laws that the president can either allow or veto. See how that works? You see how that works? He has to sign it into law. He's the president. All of the people in Washington work at the pleasure of the president. I can't believe you don't know this. Fab Daddy says, Debbie, a brain trust that nobody can trust. That's a very apropos way of putting it. Amy says, Debbie said it better. Right on. Aaron said, the report would read, this is all bullshit. Yes, my think tank report would say this is all bullshit. Yes, it would. Amanda says, a think tank is an organization that gathers a group or interdisciplinary scholars to perform research around particular policies, issues, or ideas. Topics addressed in think tanks can consider a wide range of including social policy, public policy, economic policy, political strategy, or cultural and technologically both culturally and technologically. Got it. Patty says, I missed one, I think. Patty says, I better watch the emojis I use. Could mean something, right? Amy says, Fab, are you in a bouncy house because you're jumping all over the place? That's a good analogy, Amy. I like that. Amanda says, LOL, yes, Patty. And Walter Davis says, any citizen of another country is afforded rights under their constitution, not ours, Even a green card doesn't have the rights of an American citizen. Right on. Aaron says, Patty, you can't use sign language in Chicago. Wow. Why not? Oh, you get shot? Patty says, hi, April. Amy Elizabeth says, I used to wish my husband a happy Mother's Day because he was the biggest mother I knew. Right on. Well, happy Mother's Day to you now. And Amanda says, MS-13 is a marijuana leaf, a smiley face, and a number 13 usually, or an image that starts with a 0 and a 3 or a 0 and a T. Yes, it's a symbolism across the knuckles. And Fab Daddy says, cutting off all USAID or VOA, a huge overstep, and is unconstitutional, currently being fought in courts. Incorrect, Fab Daddy. Go back and look at every president that has ever been, and almost all of them have had some form of Doge in their administration. They call it different things, but trust me, they're there, and their job is to reform and thin out the government. That's what they've all done. Doge is no different. USAID was sending a lot of American taxpayer money to other countries for nonsensical things. And they have every right to cut that money off and to fix that problem, to plug that leak. And they may be being fought in courts right now because liberals can't lose. They're poor losers, and they throw fits and sue people every time they do lose. So it may very well be being fought in court. Write it down now that I said so. They will win. And then it will no longer be talked about because the Democrats can't admit when they're wrong either. Trump will win. They have every right to do what they're doing. Kevin says, I've been called a mother something or other on more than one occasion. So have I. I, not O, says Amanda. Amy says, Happy Mother's Day, Kevin. And Kevin says, smiley face. And Amanda said what U.S. aid was spending trillions on bullshit like transgender rats and so much other bullshit for other countries, not for what was needed. And Kevin says, guideline. Right on. DJ says, I meant mayor. I believe you. Christine says, the Constitution Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, which is the legal process by which a foreign national can become a citizen through a process. Right on. Amy says, why spend tax dollars on a study to see if a lobster can run on a treadmill? That's wasteful. Right on. Why spend tax dollars to put beagles' heads in boxes and fill the boxes with fleas and watch them be eaten to death over and over again for decades? Why do that? That's wasteful and cruel. Aaron says, a lot of it can if you put a spot of grease behind it. What are you talking about? Christine says, meaning a legal process. Right. They come in through a legal process, which is what the Constitution recommends for an illegal person to become a citizen. They go through a legal process, which makes it lawful. If they skip that, they are illegal. They get deported. Amanda says, and who gives a shit about Sesame Street in another country? Sesame Street can pay for their own shit in another country. I agree. That was also something USAID was doing. One person said that they were throwing money like they were in a sinking ship and they were bailing the Titanic. They were throwing money like bailing water on a sinking ship. Think about that imagery. Titanic went to the bottom of the ocean. We're the Titanic in that scenario. You understand? That's what Trump's trying to fix. Amanda says, LOL, Aaron. Amy says, OMG, my sister snores. It's so loud. I feel your pain. Amanda says, aw, poor Y. Amy, poor Amy. Don't discourage the plight of the snore victim. Some of y'all are bed terrorists. Amy says, sawing logs. She should have a village of log cabins by now. Wow. I might send you some recordings so we can commiserate. Amanda says, why do we need all the alphabet agencies anyway? If they aren't doing their jobs, then get gone. I agree. Yeah, we have a lot of interagency policies and agencies that exist that do absolutely nothing but cost money. And there's like everything in triplicate, so there's a lot of waste. If you watch Benny Johnson on YouTube, go find the episode where he walks through one of the government buildings and how opulent it is and how empty it is. And it's a current government building that's being operated today. And it's a big building, and it's empty. But tax dollars are funding it. There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of people that are taking Social Security money that are over the age of 200. Thousands of them. That ought to tell you something. Who, you might ask? Well, we're working on that, but write it down that I said so. Probably somebody in Congress when you get to the end of that line. Amy says, Amanda, it's a way for them to launder money back to their pockets. Yes, it is. And that's why everybody's throwing a fit about it, Fab Daddy, because their money gravy trains are getting cut off. Bill Bennett says, hello, Untethered Live family. Great to see you. I'm a little late. That's all right, Bill. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Aaron says, would this apply to a Native American that is born outside the United States? If they're born outside the United States, they are not an American citizen, correct? I don't know what the native laws are. If they have a different way of doing things, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they have to follow American federal policies. I think they have their own way. They got a reservation and all that stuff, which is they got their own police and all of that. But I think they still have to follow what the government says. I'm not sure about that one. That's a good question. Amanda says, hey, Bill, it's hot in here. Jump on in. Fab Daddy says, by the way, California has the 4th highest economic, larger than many countries. Stop hating us moneymakers. Y'all jealous. If you want to believe that, you go right ahead. Yeah, y'all make a lot of money. It goes right in Gavin Newsom's pocket. It ain't going back to the people who made the money. And if you think it is, answer me this. Why is over half of your population migrated to Austin, Texas? Because they're tired of wasting money. Why does LA's fire department not have reservoirs of water? Despite the fact that they were just given millions of dollars to see to it that they had reservoirs of water. They got a lesbian fire chief, though, so you must be proud. They made sure to point that out. Can't carry somebody out of a building, but she's a lesbian. And no, not one of us is jealous of anything in California. Amanda says, it doesn't. It's a constitution for the Americans. The U.S. Constitution was written for the citizens of the United States, outlining the structure and powers of the government while also protecting fundamental rights. It serves as a rule book for the government, defending how it operates and the limitations of its authority. Very good. Patty says his sister was a federal judge. Whose sister? Amy says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. You know the rest. Right on. Christine says Constitution doesn't grant non-citizens the same rights as citizens, like the right to vote in federal elections is generally reserved for the citizens. That's referring to those who met the requirements. Right on. Which is why I have the interpretation of it that I have, but there are other interpretations, and I recognize that. Equally valid until a federal judge says otherwise. Trump was sworn in, so he does, says DJ John. He does have the right. Absolutely. Amanda says, Aaron says, so if a Native American is born in another place, they are covered by America, ? Don't know the answer to that question. That's a good question. Christine says, you catch the recognition of non-citizens. Yes. Yes, I did. Amanda says, no, Aaron. Aaron says, that's awful. Morag Sloth says, that's fine. Welcome, Morag. Come on in. Amanda says, hi, welcome. Christine says, how about those who have met the requirements, which 100% reveals the people who enter illegally are not following the requirements? Right on. Kevin Cox says, CJ turns 8 next week, and we have taken him to Dave and Buster's, and he is somewhere in the building with his brother. Oh, wow. Dave and Buster's, that's like a Chuck E. Cheese or something, isn't it? Or something like it. Like a theme park kind of thingy. Amy says, Aaron, if a pregnant American woman gives birth to her baby in another country, the baby is a citizen of that country. They have to apply for citizenship. A girl I went to school with had that problem. Right. If you're born in a country, you are a citizen of that country, regardless of what your race is. Aaron says, welcome, Rag. Bill Bennett says, Trump Pope was AI generated. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And I'm sure that it was a meme to get the left going crazy. And they followed suit. Amanda says, right, Bill. Aaron says, I get it. So even though they're native, they're not covered. Got it. Right. Well, if you're born, regardless of your race, if you're born in another country, you're automatically a citizen of that country, and you have to apply to come back to America and be a citizen here. Might even have to get a green card or something, because you are a citizen of wherever you're born. Which is why the illegals come here and have babies, so they're Americans, and they won't get deported for being here. And the mothers hope that they won't either, because they need their mothers. But this administration is going to deport them. They can either leave their children here or take them with them, but it's their choice, not the government's. And that case has happened already. And the left is freaking out about American citizens being deported. They're not deported. They went willingly. But the mother was deported because she was not an American citizen. Amanda says, American U.S. citizens, Aaron. Aaron says, I see now. I understand. Right on. It was after the states were united. I get it now. Right on. And Amanda says, yes. Fab Daddy says, 2 and 5 again. I am gone for realsies. No more for me tonight. All right, Fab Daddy. God bless you, sir. Have a great night. Happy Mother's Day. Aaron says, I feel less confused now. All right. That's always a good thing, Aaron. Linda says, no, Amanda, they are citizens. They have dual citizenship, but at the age of maturity, they have to declare their citizenship. My cousin was born in Germany while my uncle was stationed there. Okay. Amanda says, or his tweet about reopening Alcatraz, people went nuts. And now he's really thinking about doing it. Yeah. Well, like I said, Trump always starts with something ridiculous. He says something way out there that no one would ever do, but he says it. And then everybody freaks out about it. And because everybody freaks out about it, people start talking about it. And then people that matter start talking about it. And then they start negotiating and they work their way down to something reasonable. And then Trump gets something done. That's how he operates. That's what he does every single time. And it works every single time. I've never seen anybody go, Trump said something weird. No, they always freak out. And that gets the ball rolling. Trump always negotiates from a big ask. Watch his operations. Listen to him talk. I've seen everything he's ever said. Trust me, that's how he works. So he says something ridiculous. You go, there's no way. But you're talking about it. And as you're talking about it, ideas come up. People start questioning the motives and they counter and they come up with different ideas and opposing ideas. And next thing you know, there's a real conversation on the table that would have never happened otherwise. But because Trump said something crazy, now we're talking about something realistic, such as opening Alcatraz as a real prison that has gravitas, that everybody recognizes by its scary name. A good deterrent for illegals. It's a great idea. I thought that selling the green card for $5 million was a great idea. I don't know why nobody's done that before. Only people that can afford it will buy them because they're $5 million. That means that those people will have a vested interest in, gaining from that investment. So they will come here with the idea to make money, which will provide jobs. That $5 million will be applied to the deficit. Enough of them get sold, we lower the deficit, we raise the quality of people that come over the border, and more jobs are created, therefore solving 4 or 5 problems with one act. Why have we not already done that? It's a simple idea, but it's a great one. DJ says, Trump's rattling feathers, and I like it. Me too. I kind of enjoy it also. Amanda says, good night, Fab. Amanda says, Trump's tweets are his feeler posts. Throw it out there and see what happens. Right. It's like catching fish. Aaron says, Linda, that's how I thought it would work. But I wasn't sure. I also thought since natives were here first, maybe they had different rules. I guess it's possible. I really don't know the answer to that question. And I am a native. I've never had any desire to leave the country, so. Amanda says, yes, DJ. Kevin says, the left would go nuts if Trump said the sky is blue. Yes, they would. XO T1C. I'm guessing you're saying something you shouldn't be saying. What it is? What's up, buddy? He says, how about Nashville mayor not back in ICE too? Is that the one that got arrested? The Nashville mayor? I thought it was a New York mayor that got arrested. Either way, Pennsylvania mayor got arrested. Okay. I don't know about the Nashville thing. How you doing, what it is? Patty says, hi, DJ. How are you doing over in England? Amy says, when I was an exchange student in Germany, my friend Heidi, who was friends with a girl named Helga, and another friend named Gertrude, I'm just guessing, who was born in Germany but raised in the USA, had issues because her birth certificate listed her as a German citizen. I don't know how that works exactly. Christine says they call it a debate. Immigration policies, border security, and the pathways to legal status and citizenship in the United States. These discussions often involve complex legal, economic, and more. Right on. Linda says she didn't have to go through the tests and all. She just had to fill out the paperwork to declare her citizenship. And this is only true if her parents are American citizens abroad. Right on. Amy says, hi, what it is. Amanda says, hi, what it is. And Aaron says, I wish I would have got that ice cream now. Ice cream actually sounds good. Yep, about 2 cups of ice cream and a cup and a half of self-rising flour. Mix it all together and then put it in a bread pan, stick it in the oven 350 degrees for about however many minutes till it rises, and you got some nice bread. Yep. Just ice cream and flour. Amanda says, LOL, Aaron. And Amy says, it's been forever since I was in high school. Me too. I can't even remember most of it. Amanda says, hi, XO, welcome. Or WB, welcome back. Patty says, did Rosie leave USA? Yeah, she went to Ireland, and it's been trouble ever since. She hates it, and they don't like her either. And then there was this black lady on YouTube that went to Africa, decided she'd had enough. She's going back to the motherland. She said, there ain't no snacks. There ain't nothing going on. I hate it here. I can't wait to get back to America. So when you get over there, you realize, oh, this is a real place, and it's nowhere near as good as America. Kevin says, I'm not saying the Democrats are evil, but if you believe they are, everything starts to make sense, right? I don't know that they're evil either, and I don't want to believe that. They sure do a lot of things that make you think they're operating from that position. Aaron says, I think. Therefore you are. Amanda says, it's okay, Aaron. I forgot to get tea bags today, and I'm out of tea. I'm going to die. You're not going to die. Drink coffee. Or water. Or Mountain Dew. DJ John says, no one been disrespectful. I've watched the whole chat. Oh, we know that. He knows that too. Amanda says, I'll just drink all Jake's Mountain Dew. Those are fighting words. I will kill you. You can have my Mountain Dew. That's all right. Amy says, LOL, Amanda didn't get teabagged today. Oops, I read that wrong. We can fix that. Aaron says, tea is so peaceful. I used to drink peppermint tea with my mom. Yep, that's offensive to me, Aaron. I can't drink anything in my tea but tea. I don't even like lemon in tea. But it's sweet that you drank it with your mom. That sounds like a lovely memory. Amanda said, LOL, Amy. Nope. Thumbs down. And I used to drink coffee with my mom. We'd go out and have coffee. It was like a traditional kind of thing. Our family outing was go to Waffle House and have coffee. So it was a thing. Let's go have coffee. All right. Go have coffee. We did that a lot in the old days. We sit there for hours just talking over a cup of coffee. It's my favorite thing to do. It's kind of what I'm doing right here, having coffee with all of you. I think I might change the name of the show to Have Coffee with Jake. Aaron says, Mountain Dew is great. Yes, it is. Yes, XO. Short for you. Why has XO been banned? Did he say something? Amanda says, nice, Aaron. I like them both. I eat peppermints, and they are going out of... I eat peppermints like they're going out of style. I often run Walmart out of stock, but I can't see mixing them, and I like ice cold sweet tea. Amen. Amanda says, Aaron, thumbs up. And Aaron says, it was a robot. Ah, okay. Amy says, exotic, yes. XO was a shorter version of your name. Oh, exotic. I read it XOT1C or whatever it was. Christine Marshall says, it's a new YouTube option. I got you. I'll have to look into that. YouTube has done several things this month that I didn't know anything about. One of them is the little jewels. People are buying jewels for $1 or whatever. I'm like, I'm not getting $1. Where'd that come from? Amanda says, no, Jake XO is a robot. Got it. Amy says, pesky bots. I guess that means I'm doing something good if bots are showing up. Christine said, hi. See, there it is again, LOL. DJ John says, Jake, it's a new thing. They're doing, most channels have got it. Oh, really? I'll have to figure out how that works. But hi. Amanda says, it's not doing the effect on his computer, Christine. Gotcha. It must have a thing that I'm not seeing. Okay. Christine says, it pops up randomly, and it just popped up on me again. Right on. On a PC or a phone, says Aaron. Okay. Well, I'm using a Mac, so I'm not seeing any of that. That's weird. Okay. Debbie says, Amy, I think the gray area is between non-citizens and citizens. Illegally here means no rights. Illegally here, but not a citizen, like those having work permits and green cards are covered by the Constitution. Probably. Again, I'm not an expert on constitutional law by any stretch of the imagination. I have opinions, but that doesn't make them right. That's just the way that I think. And I'm always open for an education, so I'm glad we're having this conversation. Christine Marshall says, I'm on a phone. Right on. Amy says, sister is solid logs. Right on. Aaron says, me too. I don't see that. And Amanda says, I see it on my tablet. It's blank on my phone and just said hi on my computer. Okay. Well, what is the effect? What's happening? What am I missing? Amanda says, LOL, Amy, earplugs. It's a fancy font with a high symbol behind it. Okay. Wow. It just doubled again. I ain't never getting to the bottom of this thing. Everybody's tapping out. Walter says, there is no interpretation of what it means. It's read. It's read as it is written and understand it. Right on. Amy Elizabeth says, well, y'all, I have to get up early and drive to the airport. It's going to be a long travel day tomorrow. I might be here for Bible study. I don't know. Well, we hope you are. But above all, please be safe out there. Be careful, be safe, be alert, and don't let strangers take advantage of you. God bless you. I'll be praying for safe travels for you. Have a good night, and hopefully see you for Bible study. We love you. Bill Bennett says, I think it's all welcome if they are productive citizens. I think all is welcome. Yes. Aaron says, I agree. All right, please hit that like button, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available in the chat box if you want to get freaky. Christine says, good night, Amy. And Aaron says, see you tomorrow, Amy. Amanda says, good night, Amy. And John says, good night, Amy. And Debbie says, Fab Daddy. The bottom line is Garcia lost all his rights when MS-13 was deemed to be a terrorist group or organization. He is a member, and at that point, all arguments become moot. He must be deported. I agree 100%, Debbie. Kevin says, good night, Amy. And Vice V1CE is probably another one of those. I'm sorry. There seems to be some confusion. Y'all called my other account a bot when I was just trying to watch the stream. Well, I apologize, Vice. We've been having a bot attack. If you're not a bot, I apologize for that. Let Vice stick around. So there's that. That was an unintentional gaffe. We apologize. Amanda says, hi, Vice. Welcome. Vice says, thank you. Amanda says, if we did that, then we are sorry. And Vice says, XO was it. Okay. It's all good. I was just confused. Well, I apologize. That happens sometimes. Sometimes the best of intentions of keeping us a clean, safe chat unintentionally gets people booted out. And we apologize and thank you for coming back and clarifying. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the show. DJ John says, I'm going to say good night, everyone. I've been awake since Friday, so have a frantic Mother's Day. A fantastic Mother's Day. Ladies, bless you all. Much love. DJ, get you some rest, buddy. We know that chemo's taking it out of you. We love you. Have a great day tomorrow. Happy Mother's Day. And get some rest. We'll see you tomorrow night. Amanda says, our bad. Vice, we just don't let riffraff in here. Welcome in. Join in the conversation and have fun and be respectful is all we ask. That's right. Yep. We do run a tight ship around here, Vice, but sometimes it gets people that aren't trying to cause trouble, and we apologize for that. And we're always, obviously, you're welcome to share your opinion, whether you agree or not. That's fine. The only thing we ask is that you don't get crazy. Don't disrespect the ladies. There's a lot of ladies in here, so talk nice. Be an adult, and that's it. No other rules. You can have any opinion you want to have. Amanda says, good night, DJ John. Vice says, I don't think I've ever been disrespectful in this chat before. If I ever have, I'm sorry. We don't think that at all. I think someone assumed you were a bot and just kiboshed it before it got nasty, which usually happens. And we apologize for that. It was an earnest mistake. Amanda says, nope. I don't think you have. It's been a while since you've been here, but we're glad to see you back. Absolutely. Vice says, thank you. And if you'll hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, not only will you get notifications every time I'm online, so you'll know when to come back, but we'll recognize you as a subscriber, so you won't have that trouble ever again. Amanda says, you're welcome. And Vice says, sorry for not being active much. I've been having to deal with high school. Right on. High school's a tough place to be, buddy. Amanda says, fun. It's all good. And Vice says, yeah. When were his Christian streams again? It's Sunday and Monday are the Christian streams. I mean, they're all Christian streams because I'm a Christian, but the Bible study is Sunday and Monday. Sunday at 8 Eastern Standard Time, Monday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Amanda says, Sunday and Monday. Vice says, thanks. Aaron says, I thought you were a bot because of the one-word responses, and that's on me. My bad. No problem. We got it solved. So now we know Exotic and Vice is the same person. So we got that. Amanda says, you're welcome, Vice. And Vice says, it's fine, Aaron. It did look like a bot, except the more I thought about it. It did look like a bot account the more I thought about it. Okay. Aaron says, sorry about that, bro. Vice says, no problem. Prayers. Aaron says, to answer the question about sign language, it's because you can sign gangs by mistake. Certain hand gestures are gang signs. Got it. Understood. That would be bad. Aaron says, they shot a couple that was signing to each other crossing to the street. Oh, my God. Talk about a shock. Amanda says, dang, that's sad. I think that's how you pronounce it. Aaron says, even certain team hats. Really? Remind me not to ever go to Chicago. DJ John says, or sending condoms to other countries. Amanda says, right, DJ? While abortion is off the charts here, they need to mail all the condoms out there. Or they need to mail them all condoms out here. Yeah, send all the condoms to America. We need them. Vice says, that was quick. That was a quick nap. You got a nap? I wish I had a nap. Amanda says, LOL, you poor victim. Smiley face Jake. I'm not a victim. What are you talking about? Aaron says, how far back is Jake? A while. 45 minutes to 40 minutes. Poor Jake is right, says Aaron. I'm working hard, man. I got to earn that money somehow. Amanda says, right about what? Who knows? Poor Jake is right, is what he was saying. You said poor Jake. He said poor Jake is right. Means I got a lot of work in front of me, but I'm going. He said he's a victim of snoring. Oh, got it. Yes, poor victim. Yeah. It's not just the snoring. It's the kicking and the yelling and the oddball noises and the other stuff. Bed terrorist. That's all I'm going to say. Aaron says, the time I'm saying poor Jake is about 45 minutes, right? And Amanda says, oh, okay. And Vice says, Aaron, that's a nice profile picture. Oh, he's got it going on, don't he? Amanda says, I agree, Vice. That's his Porsche he built himself. Know a lot about that, huh? Vice says, that's awesome. Aaron says, thanks. It took me 25 years to build it. Wow. And Vice says, older than me. LOL. I like color choices. Aaron says, I started it in high school like you and used my summer job money. Nice. But you got that car finished, though, didn't you? That's pretty sweet. That's called commitment, young man. They don't make a lot of that these days. Vice says, type she. Sorry if cussing isn't allowed. Some cussing is allowed. Don't get dirty, but you can say the basic ones. Debbie says, I have a friend that was born on a reservation and have their own government and laws, and they do not pay taxes. If they move off the reservation, then they have to obey the laws of the state. Interesting. I knew it was something like that, and federal laws to pay taxes. I knew it was something like that, but I wasn't sure how far it went. Like if they can't, I don't know if they still have to follow the federal laws, but they don't have to follow local laws because they got their own police. Now, you see, I am a Native American, but I never claimed it as a identity, so I don't have reservation ties or anything like that, and I don't associate with the community of Native Americans that I'm from because I don't know who they are. I'm an orphaned Native American, and I grew up in the South, so I'm like a cowboy and an Indian, which is weird. I know. I'm a cowboy Indian. I shoot myself in imaginary games of rites of passage. Aaron says, you can do it too. Yes, you can. Amanda says, cussing is allowed on nights that are not Sunday and Monday Bible study. You're good. Right. Well, if you're in the Bible study, act like you're Bible studying. That's all I'm saying. The other nights are just chill. You can do whatever you want to do. It's fine. And by the way, this isn't a cult. You can have your own opinions and your own ideas. You don't have to agree with me. And we can argue. And you can disagree vehemently. That's fine. The only thing I ask is that we remain friends at the end of it, because ultimately this is just a conversation. You know, judge people by their character, not the things that they say. So, welcome to the show. Debbie says, federal law. I read that one. Vice says, I think he meant arcade. Maybe. Patty says, President Trump's sister was or is a federal judge. Really? I did not know that. I know his uncle is a professor at MIT and has been for a lot of years, and that's the guy that got all of Nikola Tesla's work when he died. His name is John Trump, or Drumpf, whatever. Aaron says, I'm glad you told me that, Amanda. I did not know. I just didn't get out of respect. I just didn't get it out of respect. What are we talking about, Aaron? Amanda says, Dave & Buster's is an arcade burger joint. Ah, gotcha. I see what you're saying. That makes sense, Vice. Now I know what you're talking about. Aaron says, here it's an arcade. All right. Well, that's pretty cool for those boys are young, so they'll enjoy that a lot. And Amanda said, yeah, it's almost like Chuck E. Cheese, but more grown up. I got you. Aaron says, I've seen a few, but never went. Amanda says, I've been once. I've probably been there before too, but I don't really remember. Aaron says, yep, I think I'm good on that. And then Vice says, does anyone have tips for the military? Yes. Don't join the military. I'm sorry. Was that unpatriotic of me? Let me clarify. Currently, our military is doing some really crazy things. And if you join the military, you stand a very reasonable chance of being embroiled in something that you did not sign up for. So I would wait it out for a little while. If you're going to join the military, I would join the Air Force because they have cool stuff like Space Force and NASA. You might can get involved in something like that if you're smart enough and not have to die on foreign soil for something you don't believe in. Or worse. In my opinion. Amanda says, I'd rather go to Family Fun Center or somewhere with putt-putt golf. Okay. I think I played putt-putt golf once in my life. Ever. And I'm not sure we played. I remember being there, but I can't remember whether we played or not. This was 40 years ago, so. Aaron says, I'm 20 years in what you were asking, Vice. 20 years into making that car, huh? Amanda says, military is a great thing. It used to be. I don't know that it is anymore. There's a lot of weird things happening in the military right now that I disagree with. So I'm going to be down on that. You might want to ask somebody else. But if it's like it was when I was a kid, you know, the rah-rah, let's save our country, do our duty and heroic and all of that, sure. But they've done some things recently that I very much disagree with. Since the Gulf War, really. Vice says, I was just wondering, like as a 17-year-old finishing high school, soon planning on going into the military in summer, if y'all had any something or advice. If you had any advice. Obviously, work hard. Mean what you say what you mean, carry yourself upright, look forwards, keep your shoulders back, be honest, be strong, keep your head down, don't do anything stupid, think before you jump, that sort of thing. But mostly, don't get involved in stuff you don't believe in because that's going to be a bad time for you. Don't let the glitz and the moral bombastic nature of the military convince you that you're a hero. Wait it out and see what's going on and don't get involved in things you don't believe in. Simple as that. Aaron says, if you do ROTC, you go in as a ranked officer. Well, there you go. Start with ROTC. That'll give you an idea what the rigmarole is like and whether or not you want to be that kind of person or not. But definitely Navy or Marines or something like that. Or Air Force. Air Force is the easiest one, I think. And the least likely to get you killed. Vice says, our school year is almost over. I don't envy you that, buddy. Christine Marshall says, I was telling everyone for years that Donald Trump would solve the military recruitment issue overnight with his campaign victory. Aaron says, instead of being at the bottom of, you start with a rank if you go into ROTC. Right on. Yeah, well, Trump solved a lot because he brought back hope, which is a thing that the left don't do very well. Hope and dreaminess, the dreaming of a better world, that sort of thing, the shining city on the hill, that kind of thing. They don't do that very well. So it was kind of glum when they were running it. But now that Trump's there, there's hope again. So, maybe it'll turn around. Amanda says the enlistment is way up under Trump. Yes, it is. Mostly because his government isn't allowing a bunch of nonsense into the military, which is the way it is currently. Or was when I knew anything about it. Aaron says, I was never really down, but it's higher. It was never really down, but it's higher. Right. Patty says, Jake, thank you for the entertainment tonight and Levon's song last night. I'm good. No, I'm good night all. Heading to sleep now. Happy Mother's Day, ladies. See y'all tomorrow night. Patty, I am working on that song and I will get it right for you soon. And I will play it for you on this show. And good night and happy Mother's Day to you too. I hope you have a great day tomorrow. Rest easy, dear. And we love you. Hearts and roses and prayers back at you. Amanda says, good night, Patty. Happy Mother's Day. Roses and hearts. And Amanda says, fried ice cream balls. I'm going to make that ice cream bread. It looks easy and it looks like it's good. Aaron says, are they good? I have never had a fried ice cream ball. I don't know. And new AA says, message retracted. See, Vice? Right there. But you can't talk like that, new AA. This is the wrong place. And half of the people here don't know what a bollocks is, but I do. And so does DJ John, so you keep your mouth shut. Amanda says, delicious. Take ice cream, roll it in flour, powdered sugar, and cinnamon, and drop it in hot grease, and fry till golden brown. Interesting. Amanda says, welcome, new. Be respectful. And for your information, I have begged no one. And they get a service for what they provide me. So kiss my ass right where it looks like a fig and walk on. Walk hard. DJ John says, I think Jake needs more coffee reading all that chat. I just got a fresh cup. Thank you for asking. Amanda says, LOL, I just made him another cup a few minutes ago. See? Christine says, never really down. How about an all-time low, removing those who refused the jab, DEI, trans BS in the military, and all the generals for years? Said it's an emergency issue of low recruitment. Right on. Aaron says, LOL, new AA is gone. That's how that works, Vice. Christine Marshall said hi again. Debbie says, Mountain Dew is Rocky Mountain goat water. Did you just call my drink a choice goat piss? How dare you, madam? Aaron says, I gotta try that fried ice cream thing. Sounds good, don't it? Amanda says, LOL, Jake calls Mountain Dew the nectar of the gads. It's delicious. Yes, it is. Delicious. Come on now. I was just at the bottom. Now I'm halfway back up again. I'm working it. Aaron says, I can't do it. I can't do the high either. Right on. Amanda says, I don't know how to do it, LOL. Aaron says, Christine, it's not down, just people being soft. And it's not like it was. This gender switching got it all messed up. Yes, it did. Aaron says, after 20, I'll walk one time Sorry. After 20, I walk one, this time is up. I walk once, this time is up. I don't know. Amanda says, LOL, everyone had went to bed. He should make it pretty quick now. Aaron says, I hope. I'm working, man. I'm trying. Amanda says, he's 25 minutes behind. Now let's see if we can do it. Aaron says, almost at the bottom. Amanda says, yep, he's moving now. And Aaron says, I might reach out tomorrow. Well, come on, man, reach out. I'm here. She's here. We'll talk. Amanda says, that's cool, man. We'll be around. Amanda says, Jake Ninja. Roaming from town to town, solving crimes with my kung fu like Kwai Chang Kang. You better believe it. Amanda says, I'm not a bed terrorist. Okay, well, maybe. But you're a blanket hog. I am not. I need to explain ratio to you and fulcrums. Kevin says, Amanda, are you Jake's wife? You can say that. You mean, does she ignore me for a week at a time and snore like a banshee? Yes. Amanda says, LOL, yeah, we know about it because he told us. You just forgot. Okay. Aaron says, Revenge of the Blanket Snatcher. Amanda says, LOL, yes, Kevin. Kevin says, Amanda, I'm fairly new here. Well, you're family now, Kevin, so buckle up. Amanda says, he rolls up in that, and it's 50 degrees in the room. I do not. Vice says, my girl probably wouldn't like me blowing bands on a car yet. Well, you're 17 years old. When I was 17-year-old, nothing was more important than a car. Nothing. You could get laid with a car, you know. But I don't know how the generations are now, but I would imagine a car is still pretty important. You got to have transportation. Just make sure it's a reliable one. And if she's going to be that kind of girlfriend, you know, the kind that lasts, she's going to appreciate you having a ride. I'm just guessing, but I'm guessing that's going to play an important role in your relationship going forward. Amanda says, I know it's all good, and yep, I'm the crazy, married to the other crazy. Kevin says, LOL, and Jeff Etheridge, what's up? Are you my cousin, Jeff Etheridge? And you're just like me, a poor white boy from the South, which basically makes you black. I don't know whether to be offended or appreciative. Thank you, Jeff Etheridge. Christine Marshall says, Vice, you're not beating her enough. She'll appreciate it if you beat her enough, huh? Kevin says, Bible study nights are Sunday and Monday. Yes, sir. Sunday at 8, Monday at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Amanda says, hi, Jeff. Be careful there, please. We allow all in here regardless. We don't discriminate. Well, Jeff is my cousin, actually. I think that's my cousin. The Vice says, I'm not the abusive type. I know. He was joking. And Amanda says, yes, Kevin, 8 p.m. Sunday, 8:30 Monday. Christine Marshall says, you got to tell her how it is. Well, your stuff on the front lawn would suck, so I feel you. You can tell her how it is to some degree, but then you got to apologize and buy flowers and hope you're not in the doghouse. Jeff Etheridge says, I never discriminate. I'll drink anything. Man after my own heart. Hey, Jeff. Me too. Kevin Bernard says, Amanda, thanks. And Vice says, I get you. Amanda says, you're welcome, Kevin. And Vice says, I wanted to join combat. Well, if you want combat, go Marines. They get plenty of it. Hoorah. Be one of those special forces guy, Green Beret types, if you're tough. You better be tough. Because they don't just let anybody in there, but if you can hang it, that's the combat you're going to get right there. Aaron says, can they be black if they are not poor? Asking for a friend. I think it was the South, dirty South thing that's more than the poor thing, but we did grow up in that kind of neighborhood. If I get what he's laying down. Amanda says, LOL, Jeff, and Jeff says, not if they're white. Oh, the poor, if they're white, doesn't matter if they're poor, I guess. Okay. Debbie says, Judge Mary Ann Trump Berry is Trump's sister. Wow. Mary Ann Trump Berry. What a name is that? Mary Ann Trump Berry, I bet she gets heckled in her courtroom a lot. Amanda says, I'm not racist. I hate everybody. Amen. Aaron says, I see. DJ John says, the British Army will be wearing skirts soon for men. Jesus Christ. So what you're saying is the foreign armies are going to be winning wars pretty soon. Amanda says, LOL, DJ, I thought you went to bed. As did I, but it's hard to quit a chat as good as this one. Aaron says, 20 years of service, Jake. Oh, got it. 20 years of service. You were in the Army for 20 years or whatever? What service were you in? Go, man. Vice says, when I said that was a quick nap, I was referring to DJ. I got you. Understood now. And Jeff says, it's a joke. Poor, black, white, men from the South strategically have similar life outcomes. This is true. Statistically have similar life outcomes. This is true. My life outcome is wild and crazy, though, because, you know, I'm a face on TV, a rock star, a poet, a man of letters, an all-around badass, and I make T-shirts for a living. So there you go. I've done it all. I've seen it all. I've been around the world. I've read all the books. I've done all the things. And occasionally, I'm funny. DJ says, Amanda trying to keeping awake. You're trying to steroids to keep awake. I got you. I don't think that's how steroids work, but maybe you could pump some iron or something. In the case of, what is that steroid called? I can't remember now. Prednisone. In the case of prednisone, you're just going to get puffy. But I don't think it'll keep you awake. Amanda says he forgets. He has no short-term memory, and I know you already told him, Aaron. Yeah, I don't have any short-term memory. If you ask me 15 years from now, this conversation, not only can I tell you verbatim and get the syntax and the inflections right, but I can tell you what I was wearing. I can tell you what the room smelled like. I can tell you everything about tonight. If you ask me tomorrow, I'm reasonably sure tonight never happened. I don't know why. That's just how my brain works. Aaron says, Jeff, you're invited to the cookout either way. We would feed you. Right on. Absolutely. Amanda says, what part of the South, Jeff? That would be Georgia. He is definitely my cousin. Who I haven't heard from in a very long time. I'm glad to hear from you now, though. How you doing? Jeff says, I have been known to eat. Absolutely. I just got finished eating a big old mess of chicken myself. Aaron says, he does a lot, so he has a lot to remember. This is true. I am pretty busy. Jeff says, heh, same as cousins Jake there. Same as cousin Jake there. Yes, we're from the same town. That would be somewhere in the nether parts of Georgia. Amanda says, LOL. Is this Blockhead? No, that's the other cousin. I have quite a few cousins. 4 of whom come to this show. Amanda says, LOL, Aaron. And Aaron says, Jake is my entrusted brother. So you're family then. Aaron, God bless you, my friend. Amanda says, Jeff, a.k.a. Blockhead. Nope, not Blockhead. That would be Brian. This is Jeff Etheridge, whom you haven't met before. But I know who he is. And Jeff says, fun fact, this man's daddy was my grandmother's brother. My daddy. So you are Cosmo. No. How many times I got to tell you, that's not Cosmo. That's Jeff Etheridge. Cosmo is Cosmo. Amanda says, cousin. Yes, there's more than one cousin. Christine said hi. Jeff says, oh, no, I'm not Brian. It was a big family. Jeff says, LOL. Amanda says, oh, okay. Then I probably haven't met you. Exactly. Jeff says, lucky you. Jeff, I understand you're quite the debater. How are things going in your life? Amanda says, I guess so. Jeff says, hey, Jake, night all. Got to get up early to travel to see my mama. Is your mama doing all right? Tell her that we said hello. Amanda says, good night, Jeff. Nice to meet you. Debbie says, 25 minutes. Is that code for everyone to shut? Is that code for everyone to shut it because Jake wants to go to bed? Jake wanted to go to bed an hour ago, but I'm not stopping until I'm done, baby. I'm in it for the long haul. That's how I roll. Amanda says, safe travels. Christine says, Jeff, good night. Aaron says, ranger training would do it. Yes, it would. Amanda says, and you got magic fingers. And I do have magic fingers. Amanda says, lost short-term memory. Too many crazy things when you were younger. This is true. Maybe one day I'll tell you some stories. I have done a few things. Been a few places. Seen a few people. Got accused of being some of those people. Aaron says, except for the one that has no feeling. That would be this one. Has no feeling in that finger. So, 9 magic fingers. Aaron says, smiley face with a gun. And Amanda says, LOL, Aaron, we made it to the bottom of the chat. Amanda says, that's right, Aaron, which sucks for me. Well, I do have a right hand. All right. It is 11:39 and I'm exhausted, so I'm going to go to bed pretty soon. Jeff, please do come back and see me when we have time to talk. I'd like to hang out with you a little bit. Been a while. I miss you, fella. Aaron, God bless you, sir. Catch us some sharks tomorrow, and if you want to reach out, please do. We'll be here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here for Bible study. Vice, please come hang out with us and hit that subscribe button. All right. Amanda says, good night, all. See you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Untethered Live Bible study. Much love, y'all. Vice said hi. Kevin says, good night, everyone. And Aaron says, Leo decided to learn how to steal Gatorades. Nice. You always have a cold one then. Leo's a dog. All right. 343 views for one Saturday afternoon. Ain't bad. We'll see you tomorrow night. God bless. Thanks for watching.